culminating, or they were set in particular positions in the sky, certain things would happen. They knew when, you know, times of drought or times of famine, times of floods would happen based on the natural cycles of the planets, the seasons of Earth. They were able to understand the flow of nature and how the universe and how the heavens, the cosmos, was speaking to us 24/7. The heavens are constantly speaking with us and communicating with us and providing us messages. And you know, as the ancients said, you know, the stars are that they are lights of guidance, and they are there to guide us through our you know, through life, essentially speaking. So astrology is something that has been here from time immemorial and will always be here. We will always rely on them. You know, to, you know, obviously there may be certain periods where it's more prominent than others, but you know, they are there, and they are a gateway to tap into, if you want to say, your most importantly, I would say, your own inner being. People refer to it as your spirit, your higher self. Refer to it, call it as you wish. That's absolutely fine. But astrology is a very vital, and can be a very vital tool that, if utilized in the appropriate way, it can offer you great guidance, great you know, assistance. It can make things clearer. It can allow you to understand who, what, you know, you truly are. The whats, the whys, the whens. You know, all of these things can all be unraveled through the science and the art of, you know, of astrology. So our ancient ancestors managed to be able to develop certain methods, techniques, through the language of the heavens, and make it, you know, transferable to everyday life, and, you know, us as human beings here on Earth, and how we were able to, again, live as best as we can, you know, side by side, in harmony with nature, with our surroundings, whether it was with, whether you want to say the animal kingdom, the natural life, the trees, the forest. We were able to be able to, you know, have that, you know, if you want to say that organic relationship, and the stars were there, enabled to guide us. So a lot has changed, and astrology has been, if you want to say, improved and updated. It has to be. Everything has to be updated. There are certain things, obviously, that we may use in this day and time that obviously wasn't being used 100, 200, 500, 1,000, 2,000 years ago. So things do have to be updated, but the principle still stays the same. The understanding of each of the, if you want to say, the planets or the constellations or zodiac signs or whatever aspect of astrology you want to refer to, still remains the same. The nature is still the same. The sun is the sun, the same sun that was rising in the east, and to always make sure that the sun doesn't actually, it's not literally rising in the east, but that's just a terminology that we use to just simplify things. It's just based on our perception, because the sun's not rising in the east. It's the Earth's orbit that it makes the sun appear to be rising in the east. But it's the same sun that rises in the east, is the, you know, 5, 10 million, billion years ago, is the same sun that is still rising in the east for us today. When we are referring to particular planets like Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury, Mars, Venus, those are still the same planets that our ancient ancestors saw. And they saw them as, they refer to them as wanderers, because obviously they were wandering the heavens and the different zodiac signs, so they were moving. They were there because they acted as pointers and they acted as guides of light that enabled us to be able to understand our life journey, where we are coming from, where we were at a specific point in time in our life, or the phase of life, and where it is that we should be heading, or where is it that the soul is trying to, what's the destiny. So we're all here. When I mean here in terms of on planet Earth, we're all here because we are all on a journey, and that journey is individual. It's individual for each and every single one of us, and that journey will inhibit, if you want to say, trials, tribulations, its ups and downs. These are things that we must encounter, in life. It's what makes us who we are. So astrology is there. It acts as a guide that allows us to be able to understand the purpose of these ups and downs, or things that we may refer to as negative or bad, or whatever words that we want to put on it. Maybe in extreme cases, some people may say evil. But evil also, it's necessary. It's necessary that we have evil. It's quite interesting. We have to be very mindful at times not to. I think this is what the organized religion attempted, and still are attempting to do, and been trying to do that for the last 2,000-3,000 years, to remove this idea of evil. But yet the so-called evil still keeps coming up, or whatever it is we want to refer to as evil, or people, or we want to refer to as evil, still seem to be.
Then what? That's it.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I thought someone was someone who wanted to ask. Was it a mistake? Maybe. I think it might have been a mistake. But if anybody does want to maybe ask a question, I think you can actually raise your hand actually with the Zoom. So you can raise your hand and let me know, or if you just wanted to jump in, that's absolutely fine. I'm cool with that.
Or you can, sorry to interrupt, you can just type it in the chat.
Yes, yeah, and that too. Yeah, you can utilize your chat as well. So yeah, thanks a lot for that, sis. So yeah, it was a mistake. Yeah, no worries, it happens. So as I was saying, I've lost my train of thought there. That's not normally like me, but it will come back. But so as I was saying, is that we're all on an individual journey, and so our trials and tribulations and things that we refer to as, like, bad, evil, and all this stuff, it still seems to be prevalent. And one of the mistakes that we tend to make, and it's kind of understandable as human beings, is we see something and we don't like it, or we experience something and it's it shakes us up, or we don't like it, or it makes us feel a particular way, and so we automatically put that. The human mind is very interesting, because it acts as the whole idea of schizophrenic or bipolar is something that's inherent with all in us all in some way. It's just about the extremes of it. But the human mind, what it does is it tends to put things in boxes. Because it simplifies things that way. It's a way of simplifying things. It's not a bad thing. It's a way of simplifying things. So what we do is we encounter a particular experience, or we hear something, or we see something. So that's bad. And then something that makes us feel good, or makes us, it brings maybe an element of pleasure or a sense of happiness. Oh, then that's good. And that's how we tend to live our lives. We live our lives. So then what happens is we kind of go through life sort of like saying, well, that bad, I don't want. And we try our best to tiptoe and avoid and to stay away from anything that is, quote unquote, referred to as bad. And we're constantly trying to attract or go for, or, for things that we will consider as being good. And that's not holistic. As a matter of fact, that is but having that kind of attitude on some level is a way that you actually attract more of the so-called bad, because it's like you're rejecting it, and whatever you're rejecting is just going to come back stronger. So it's all about saying, well, this has happened, this particular experience happened, and regardless of how bad it was, and fair enough at the time, of course, we've all gone through some kind of, if you want to say, negative or bad experience or heavy experience. And at that time, of course, when we're going through that, of course, we're not really, sometimes we're not in that rational space to think things out. But essentially what we're meant to do is we're meant to learn how to look at that from an objective perspective and say, right, I attracted this. This came into my life. What was the lesson behind it? What was the meaning behind why this came into my life? But what we tend to do is we reject it. When we reject it, this is what we do. We scapegoat, we blame, we project, and that's what we constantly live a lot of our lives, blaming other people for our negative experiences. We're constantly projecting it onto other people. We're always the good guy, we're the good ones, and anybody else out there, they're the bad guy. The bad guy must be out there. It's the policeman, it's the judge, it's the government, it's the whoever. They are the bad guy, and that it doesn't get us anywhere. So our ancestors, through the knowledge of astrology, learned how to be able to see how the different planetary alignments, whether it was based on the time of a person's birth or whether it was based on a moment in time, like right now as we're speaking, the planets are somewhere. And I could look at the planets right now, in terms of right now as I'm speaking, and I will be able to pull meaning from it. I will be able to see the messages, what is in there for us. So our ancient ancestors were able to do that, and they were able to own their own. In that way, astrology became something that empowered them. It aided them. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that they were perfect, nobody's perfect anyway, but it was extremely a very, very helpful tool and science, because, it allowed you to understand who you are. You understood the people who were around you, you understood your environment, you understood the community, and you understood the world at large. And these are the things that astrology, has the ability to do. So, coming back to the astrology now, we are in very, very serious times. We're all aware of the things that we've been hearing, seeing, whether it's on the news or in the newspapers or through social media. We've been hit with so many different levels of news and information, and from information to misinformation to it's all been hitting us. And we're aware that from the beginning of this year, we've been hit with a pandemic or epidemic, call it as you wish, and it's been put the whole world on lockdown, in many ways. Companies shut down, people losing their jobs, people don't know what's happening from one minute to the next. So much uncertainty, and everything just literally come to a halt. We've been seeing, really violent behavior from the whole death of, George Floyd in US. Also, which got the people protesting and demanding that the people who were behind this were held accountable, and the justice system and the government start doing something about it and start trying to erase. We've seen a huge What's very interesting, I mean, from an astrological perspective, I understand it because I'm an astrologer. I understand what the planetary alignments are about. But it's been very interesting, and I always question: are people actually, because I'm not condoning anyone's death in any one shape, or I'm not making light of it, but we know that minority ethnic people, black people, there's been hundreds of deaths just in the US over the, if you want to say over the last, 20, 30, 40, 50, well, we know obviously since, they abolished slavery, it was still going on some level. There's always been levels of hatred towards, black people, and whether it's lynching or killing them or mistreatment or, injustices and so on and so forth. Why is it this one in particular that has swept, the globe like this, in this manner? I mean, even people perhaps of a high profile, and I'm talking, black people of a high profile in the past who have been killed or assassinated or injustice, haven't had this kind of this kind of wave has not happened. So why would it be this guy who's just we could say an average, just everyday kind of guy? What makes his injustice any different? Okay, fine. One could there is an argument where one could say, well, we got it on video. Okay, but there's been, especially in the last 30 years, there's been a very quite a handful of injustices that have been on video, where people have, police have killed a black person in cold blood right in front. They've got video footage there, and nothing still has come out of it. And they're still fighting the cases. So, why this guy? So this is again the questions that I feel that are very strong that we need to be asking ourselves. And astrologically, one of the reasons, or one of the main reasons behind why his death has sparked off this whole, it's all connected. Although everything's, you see, and this is another thing again that our ancestors were very well informed about, and they realized, is that nothing is dependent of itself in this universe. Everything is connected in some way, shape, or form. One of the principles, one of the 7 principles of Tahuti, which they speak about in ancient Egypt, is the principle or the law of correspondence. Everything corresponds with something else. Nothing is dependent of itself. There's no, whether you want to say stone, plant, human being, animal, that doesn't rely, on something else for its existence to exist, to be. For any of you who have seen the cartoon The Lion King, you see that, there was a point at the beginning when Mufasa was telling Simba, we're all interconnected. Don't, we die. He was saying we're lions, but when we die, we become a part of the grass, and the gazelle eats the grass, and then we eat the gazelle. So it's a cycle of life. That's how the cycle of life is. So everything is connected, but sometimes, again, because of the way the human mind tends to kind of work, the way the ego tends to kind of work, because the ego wants to kind of simplify things. And again, like I said, it's not necessary. It's not a bad thing. It's necessary that it does that. It's just about being aware that you're doing that and why you're doing that. So the mind works in compartments. It works like, oh, well, that's that. Just like I said, we experience something, well, that's bad, and that's good, and that's whatever, and that's the, so we put things in little compartments. So the coronavirus comes, locks everything down, Okay, coronavirus, lock everything. Okay, so that's in a box. That's illness, disease, or whatever, virus. Put that in a box. Oh, Judge, oh, that's an injustice, killing a black man. Okay, right. So put that in a box. So, but we're not seeing the link. They are all tied in together. They're part of the same fabric. So planetary alignment-wise, what the planets have been saying, not doing, that's something that I must strongly point out, because I often get people saying, oh, well, and I know as astrologers, we use particular kind of language where we will say, oh, well, Mercury is retrograde, or Saturn is doing this and Jupiter is doing that. And we use this kind of language that I can understand it does kind of make it sound like, oh, well, it's the planets that are making us do something. So the planets are not compelling us to do something, they are impelling us. The planets are just like a hand on a clock, and they're just showing us a particular time, a particular energy. Just as when it is summer, we know that when it's summer, most people go on holiday. Why? Because it's warmer, it's hotter, it's the holiday periods. But the sun is not saying, go on holiday. The sun is not saying that. But just based on the season and based on the nature and the activity and the characteristics, as human beings, we gravitate towards that particular time of the year to go on holiday. But of course, we can go on holiday at any time of the year. We know that. Many of us have gone on holiday at different times of the month. But so it's so the planets are actually, it's like a cosmic clock. So they're telling us times, seasons. Just like when it's nighttime, for most of us, at least at some point, even though some of us may be night owls, like myself, but eventually we still go to bed. We go to sleep at night. That's what you do. We're meant to wake up in the morning and have whatever, do our daily chores and have breakfast in the morning, or have lunch in the afternoon. But there's no law that's saying that you can't. Some of us, you may want to skip breakfast, you may want to fast or something. But generally speaking, there is a natural cycle that we tend to follow, and the planets are showing us that natural cycle. And we will be pulled along with that cycle. We'll be pulled into that cycle. So it's all about understanding the cycles of the planets and what it is that is trying to show us. So the planetary cycles have been showing us that we have, and it's quite interesting. I mentioned even in one of the talks I did just recently about Saturn. Currently he has moved back into the sign of Capricorn. He was in Aquarius at the end of, he moved into the zodiac sign of Aquarius at the end of March, on March the 22nd. And he was there until July the 2nd, which was a couple of weeks ago. But then he moved back into Capricorn. So for roughly about that 3-4 months, he was in Aquarius. And while he was in Aquarius, obviously it was during that time when the situation with George Floyd happened, which was, rather interesting, because the last time, and we have what's known as a Saturn return, which is every 29, 30 years. So the last time Saturn was in Aquarius, which is, late 90s, late 80s, early 90s, we had this situation with the gentleman there who, his name skipped my mind now, bless him, Rodney King, who got beat up by the police. So on a 30-year cycle, which was the Saturn return of that, we have another one in the same country, which is quite interesting. US tends to be, and again, this will tend to happen for any country that will want to sort of like present itself as it's the leading nation on the globe. Well, then you're going to be the archetype that carries, since you're the leader and you want to put it upon yourself to be the leader of the quote unquote free world. Well, then you're going to be the archetype, you're going to be the plug for these kind of atrocities for the world to see. Because, situations like that happen all over the world. You know, you'd be shocked to hear that's something that happens nearly daily somewhere in the world. But it's just that country or the place where it happens doesn't have the kind of attention that places like America or UK or whatever will have. So it's not going to hit the media. So coming back to the whole George Floyd thing, it was the Saturn return. Now, there's one message in there. The whole purpose of a Saturn return is that we are meant to mature. There's something about wisdom and knowledge and discipline and responsibility that is necessary during a Saturn return. And if we don't embrace what when we don't embrace what the lesson that we should be learning based on Saturn's movement, it gets worse. So for me, what that just showed me with the George Groves thing is actually, in the last 30 years, things have actually just got worse. Human consciousness is actually, it's dipped. Because, and people say, well, how do you know? Well, the result tells you how I know. With Rodney King, he took a severe beating, but he lived. He was still alive. It was an injustice nevertheless. And he was beaten black and blue. If any of you saw his face afterwards, that was like, I don't even know how he could have even survived that. But he survived. He lived. He lived to tell the tale. I'm not saying that compensation is anything to be celebrated, but he got compensated for that. He managed to write a book for that. He managed to go on TV shows and express what he felt. And George Floyd didn't. He died on the spot. So it lets you know that it's got worse. So, and the whole lockdown thing, again, I mean, when would have been the last time there would have been something like a lockdown? Maybe around from like Second World War, maybe. And that would have been mainly Europe, really, where that happened. Because let's face it, the First and Second World War mainly took place in places like Europe. There were other places as well, of course. Japan got involved, and so there was certain parts of Asia, but mostly it was a European spark. But so when has one experienced a lockdown on this scale? People talk about the Spanish flu, and so again that would have been mainly in Europe. That wasn't hitting the world how it was hitting the world now. So what we've witnessed this year now, although we may say, oh well, it hasn't killed as many people. Okay, fine. That is it's a good point. It hasn't killed it in terms of world population, in terms of how many people are dying. It hasn't killed that many people. There's been other viruses and diseases that have killed much more people. One thing to say with this coronavirus is that the speed in which it was spreading, okay, it's quite fast, it's quite quick. Okay, one could raise that argument, fair enough. But in terms of the effects of what it's done, the way they've had to lock down everything, it's the first in history. There may have been similar themes in history, but this is the first in history. And what the planets are essentially saying is, enough is enough. There's only so much that how we can treat the planet, how our attitude, whether it's towards animals, plants, nature, the oceans, and towards other people, most importantly, how are we treating our fellow people? It's just got, as anything changed. On an individual level, yes, things are changing because people are always growing in consciousness, growing in awareness, and wanting to do better for themselves. So on an individualistic level, yes, there are changes. Of course there are changes, and there always will be changes. But on a collective level, not really. And in some aspects, things have actually even got worse. So the planetary alignments has actually been showing us the whole Saturn situation. And I've been telling people, I told my students in class last year, December, I've still got the recording, I've shared it with quite a few people. Some of the people in there have even heard it, where I told them, like, 2020 ain't gonna be easy. There's gonna be a pandemic, because it had Saturn written all over it. The eclipses had Saturn written all over it. And all the planets were moving into Capricorn, the sign of Saturn. And even Aquarius, which is going to be the next zodiac sign, which the giants are going to be moving into on December the 21st. There's going to be a conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn. Again, it's going to be in the sign which is traditionally ruled by Saturn. So we're having this Saturnian. Now, the Saturn archetype, or the Saturn energy, essentially is an energy that allows us to be able to be more responsible, to be more disciplined, to take, have more awareness of our responsibilities in life, to form some structure, to form solid foundations. This is what Saturn essentially is about. And also as well, every 20 years, we have what's known as a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. And the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is going to be taking place on December 21st of this year. So the last Jupiter-Saturn conjunction that we had, which was, 2000, this is going to be the, end of that cycle. So we're coming to the end of a 20-year cycle. And that cycle, because every 20 years, obviously, if you get, so things will occur every 100 years, every 200 years, every 400 years, 600 years, because it's 20 by 5, 20 by 10, 20 by 15, so that cycle will keep on repeating in larger cycles. It was one of the ways, actually, how our ancestors, the ancients, were able to predict certain long-term themes, certain catastrophic changes that were going to be taking place around the world, huge floods and volcanoes and heavy famine catastrophes, and how that was going to be played out. The way in which how they did it was they were keeping an eye out on planets like Jupiter and Saturn, and taking notes on every time that when they came to a conjunction, something happened. So, for example, for those of us who have come from perhaps maybe Christian backgrounds, who know, I'm sure everybody here is aware of the story of Jesus. When Jesus was born, they speak about this, the great star, which the three wise men saw, actually was the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. So your whole Jesus mythology story essentially is centered around a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. And what was the symbolic story around the whole Jesus? He was here to bring a new form of movement, a new consciousness, a new awareness. That's what the story is. It's not a physical, historical story. It's an allegorical story. It's a story, it's something that they're talking about, an energy of something that happens every day. So the Jesus Christ story is something that's happening allegorically, symbolically, on an everyday level. But essentially that the story of his birth is actually comes under a Jupiter-Saturn. There are many of the stories that we read about in our Bible, where they speak about even Abraham and Moses. A lot of it just gets lost in the interpretation. When you actually go into the Hebrew version, a lot of it was marked by a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. So Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions have been very, very, they bring about and they mark huge historical events. And they mark huge historical events also based on which zodiac sign which they are going to be conjuncting, because they will change zodiac signs. And sometimes also as well, there's what's known as the 4 elements in astrology. So we have what's known as the air signs, the fire signs, the water signs, and the earth signs. So the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, there's sort of like a pattern that they form, where they will go in. So they, 1 minute it will be in an earth sign, then it will be in an air sign, then it will be in a fire sign, and then you see, and then they'll be in a fire sign for a while, then they go to an earth sign, then they'll go to a air sign, then they'll go into a water sign, and then they'll keep meeting like that, and we will get a theme. So the last time that they were conjunct, it was in an earth sign in 2000. They were actually conjunct in the sign of Taurus. So the Jupiter-Saturn in Taurus, essentially, Taurus is the zodiac sign ruled by Venus, and this is the zodiac sign that's connected with wealth, money, stability, and resources. And this is why for the last 20 years, there's been this huge consciousness around materialism. You see, materialism, because of all the zodiac signs, Taurus is the one that is concerned with materialism. Now, when I say materialism, I'm not saying materialism is a bad thing. It's a good thing. We need materialism. You need clothes, of course. You need shelter. You need a decent place to live. We all eat food. We need a decent plate of food, of course. Healthy food. Even if we're eating junk food, you still want a good junk food that you want to be eating. Something that's, okay, it might be considered a little fatty, but okay, but at least it's good junk, So the material world is something extremely necessary for all of us. We need to engage, and that's what the zodiac sign Taurus is about. Taurus is a zodiac sign that really entrenches and is connected with those things that are of the material world. That is why the animal that symbolizes Taurus is the bull, or the cow, the heifer. The heifer, do you know that the cow is the most resourceful animal on planet Earth? There is no other animal on planet Earth that is as resourceful as the cow. The cow, everything is used. Nothing goes to waste. Everything on the cow is used. Your most expensive leather chairs and your leather handbags, what do you think that they're made out of? Your Prada handbags and Gucci and D&G and all these high leather quality, they're coming from the cow. The cow produces it. That's why Taurus is connected with money and wealth and things to do with our sense of, self-worth. You see, this is why people like to buy. This is part of the psyche that happens. There's at first back in the day, I couldn't understand why. Well, why would you go to a shop and pay £10,000 or £5,000 for a leather bag just because it's got Prada or Gucci on it? Well, self-worth. Because the people who buy those items, who can afford to buy those items, are equating that with their sense of self-worth. It's Taurus. The more expensive of something that you wear, the more self-value and self-worth that you're going to have. So Taurus is all to do with that materialistic world. But what happened during the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in the early 2000s is that we got shifted into that world of materialism, and bang, it's like, every, new this, new that. The moment you buy things, fast fashion, within a week, it's gone. What's the new thing again? And everyone's out for those new trainers. And they're just, becoming more and more and more expensive. The new mobile phone, everything thing. They bring in another one out, and well, you know, and you think, oh, hold on a minute, my Nokia's still working. Okay, I can still receive calls, and you know, my iPhone 5. You know, what are you on now? Oh, iPhone 11. Okay, well, my iPhone 5 still works. I still plug it in. It still works. I can still send texts. It still does videos. You know, okay, might need a little upgrade here and there, but it's this fast materialism. So this need for this fast materialism, because we were under a cycle of Taurus, which is the one that's coming to the end now. So because we were in that, you know, and it was quite interesting because there was in the 90s, as many as you know, you know, you had obviously, like, even like in the music industry, for example, people were, you know, a lot of the DJs, and for some of you used to go, you know, nightclubbing and so on, you know, the DJs would come with their big boxes of vinyl records and things of that nature. And that kind of phased out. You kind of had the digital stuff started to come in. You know, it was quite interesting because that started to come in. The whole CD digital kind of thing that came in the late 80s, early 90s, was as a result because the conjunction, the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction prior to the one in year 2000, which was in 81, was in the sign of Libra, air sign. So, you know, air, and it's quite interesting because this conjunction that we're going to be facing here in December 21st coming up is going to be in Aquarius, which is another air sign. So it was quite interesting that during the air sign, through the music, I noticed that, these vinyls started phasing out, and they started bringing in the CDs, and everything was all digital, and you know, all that, you know, your 8-track started getting phased out, and cassettes were phasing out. Then you had the mini discs, you know, it was now all this technology stuff, air, you see, because air is connected with all this technology kind of stuff. It's connected with ideas and concepts and stuff like that. They'd be able to have something shrinked in a smaller space, you see. It's air. You know, air's about space. Air's it's connected with space. So vinyl, moving from vinyl to CD, it's more compact. It saves more space. You see. So, but what actually happened was, after the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter in Taurus, Earth, there was an emergence again of the vinyl. Vinyl started coming back in again. Vinyl started coming back. Hard covers, even when they brought in the Kindle and all this kind of stuff there. What actually started out, because at first I was saying, it's quite interesting. A friend of mine who does financial astrology, he was saying, listen, man, you want to put your money into this physical stuff because, you know, this last Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, it's in Taurus. So this stuff ain't going to, and I was thinking, because at first I was thinking, this Kindle stuff's really going to take off. And it did kind of take off. But actually what actually happened is they noticed that people actually buy more physical books than they do the ones on Kindle and stuff like that. And even a lot of the people who were still getting the Kindle, I mean, I've got a Kindle here, I've got God knows how many books on it. And it's very nice, especially when I go on holiday. Of course, I don't have to carry all these books with me. I've got them on my phone or my iPad, and I can just, read on my Kindle there. But essentially, what was actually happening is that people were still buying the physical books. Because I've done it myself. I've got books that are on my Kindle, on my iPhone, but I've got the physical books. You know, I still prefer to have that physical touch, you know what I'm trying to say? So there was a surge of physical books still selling, even though everything's all digitalized, you can save things now, you can stream and all this kind of stuff. So that was the Taurus. That was the Jupiter-Saturn in Taurus. So the materialistic world became too much. Fast fashion, fast this, fast technology. Well, if there's fast fashion and fast technology and fast this and fast that, and you want to make more of this and more of this and more of that so quickly and more of it, well, somebody's making that. So you need more people to be making stuff. You need more people in the factories. you need more machinery. So if you need more machinery, means you're using more petrol, you're using more oil. So you're going to be raping Mother Earth for her resources more, because the demand to keep the products coming, you see, which is a huge kind of movement for capitalism, essentially. So it's more, just keep producing more, just keep producing more. You know, don't worry. We were producing more, but meaning that we were wasting more, and we were extracting more out of the earth. So for the last 20 years, we've lived a cycle of huge consumerism, huge. And even within that 20-year cycle, we still had minor resets, but it's almost like still weren't getting the point. So in year 2007, 2008, Jupiter moved into Capricorn, and then we had another reset button. There was another recession, you know, mini recession kind of thing. But it's like, oh yeah, it lasted about a year or so, and then we got back again. Don't worry, just keep on giving me the fast stuff again. It's almost like people still weren't getting the message that, hey, this consumerism. So what is now happening is that cycle is now finishing. That cycle is going to be finishing on December 21st, 2020, this year. But we had the first kiss of it in December of last year. So all what the universe is saying, listen, we need to do some clearing up here. These people have made so much of a mess. They can't even see the mess that they're in. Okay, what do? Shut it down. That's how the universe works. How are we going to get the message through? A new paradigm shift is needed. Shut it down. Shut everything down. Because, so how are you going to shut it down? Well, you need a virus, man. You need something that's going to scare the living daylights out of them and shut it down. So that will put everybody on lockdown. Everybody stay in your yard. And still, it's quite interesting how people responded to the whole, especially for those first couple of months. People fighting over toilet roll, stacking food in their yards, food, doing the same thing that got us into trouble in the first place. Stacking up the house with food that you're not going to eat. You can't finish eating a lot of that food. It's going to go to waste. A lot of it's going to go to waste. There's only so much you don't need. On average, the average household will have, if you go to the average house, they will have food for about 4 to 7 days worth in the house. Your rice, your pastas, your tin food and stuff, you know, your cereal, but there will be food there that can, you know, no one's really eating like straight, you know, like don't have nothing for tomorrow. You know, your bits, you maybe your fruit and veggies, yeah, fine. But in terms of like long-term food, that's there. Your yams, your potatoes, your onions, those things last for a good couple of weeks. Your garlics, your herbs, you know, especially like the dry food. Okay, fruit and veg, yeah, you might need to go to the shop every, you know, maybe once, twice a week in order to get your fruit. But your long-term food is staying there. So for most people, they've got that. So why people were rushing to the shops and stockpiling and beating each other up over toilet roll, mind you, in the UK, for us here over here who are based in the UK, to just let you know that UK is the biggest producer of toilet roll. They supply other countries toilet roll. You're in a country that can't run out of toilet roll. So the fear makes people, and so for that first few months of when that corona first hit, people's reaction to it was worse, and they're doing the exact same thing that caused this mess in the first place. Consumerism. doggy dog, like shelves were, were just cleared. And people were saying, oh, maybe they're trying to starve us out. And I said, listen, there's plenty of food. Don't get this thing twisted. I kept telling everybody, food ain't gonna run out. There's plenty of food. It's just that there's just some silly idiots going to the shop, buying 7 times, 10 times the amount of food that they would normally buy. So the average person can't get. So for the first couple of months, it looked like there was going to be a drought. But no, there weren't going to be a drought. How is there going to be a drought? You've locked up all the restaurants anyway. So the food chain, they're not supplying the restaurants food because the restaurants are shut. So where's the food going to go? It's going to go to the public. I was getting like videos sent to me of warehouses saying, we've got loads of fruit and veg for anybody who wants to thing. We normally supply to restaurants, but there's no restaurants. They're all shut. So if you want it, you can come and get it. The food was going to waste. That's one of the reasons why the wildlife flourished. Because there was so much to waste. The rat population is, they've said that there's a what you call it, increase of rat infestation. Because they're fat. The cats, all your foxes and all that, they're eating good. Because all of the waste that we've been producing. And it's all because we're still under that Taurus cycle, which is now coming to an end. So the next Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, which is going to be in Aquarius on December the 21st, we're coming back to the air sign. So air, like I said, it's connected with space, data, information. This is what the new cycle is going to be about. It's good. This is the cycle where technology, science is going to be taking over. It's estimated that in the next 5 to 10 years, 60 to 70% of the jobs are going to be done by robots. I know we've been seeing technology taking its leap and taking its advances, yes, but it's about to take an even bigger leap. We're now getting into it. What we've been seeing in the last 20, 30 years in terms of technology is child's play. Now we're stepping into, it's like we were in nursery. Now we're coming into it now. We're stepping into primary school now. Now we're going to be learning how to really read. So technology advancements, information, data is all going to be the new wave. It's going to be the new thing now. Hence why we're now, again, all this kind of way of meeting online. This is Aquarius. This is air. You see, it's all to do with technology. We're all in our own homes. We can be anywhere in part of the globe and we can all connect. It's all connected with technology, science, air. Because we can't see all this stuff. We can't see all this Wi-Fi, that's all what we're all using now. Internet, Ethernet, Wi-Fi, all this stuff that we cannot see, So this is what the new age is about to. So this, what we're witnessing now, coronavirus, death of George Floyd, these are all catalysts to clear that consciousness of materialism that we've been under for the last 20 years. And Saturn and Jupiter are coming together and they're saying, end of the earth. It's going to be all about data now. What do you know? What's the information? Where is your brain at? Where is the human consciousness at? What knowledge are you applying, are you acquiring? That is going to be the new thing. It's all data now. All your computers all work on algorithms. They know what you're searching for on the internet. This is it. They're getting ready to they get all this lock away and stuff like that. What were people doing in their yards? on the internet, watching Netflix, ordering on Amazon. Oh, so yeah, so you ordered a phone. Okay. Oh, you ordered okay. Or you ordered a hair product. Oh, you ordered another hair product. Oh, so you like hair. Okay, don't worry. We got you. Okay. Oh, you ordered shampoo, skincare product. Okay, we know what you like. Don't worry. It's algorithms. We got you. So by the time the next cycle comes in, they're knowing where everybody's minds are at. So it's all on the mind and mental frequency. You see. So people are saying, oh yeah, but then they want to, bring in this coronavirus. They're going to bring this a vaccine that's got some chip in it. They don't need no chip. They don't need no chip. You are the chip. The moment you are the chip. The moment you've got a phone or you've got a laptop, you are the chip. They don't need to put no chip inside of you. They're not going to be spending no billions of dollars putting no chip inside of you. They don't need to. It's algorithms. They know how the mind works, what we want. When we go on the internet to order food, they know what kind of foods that we normally order, what we, where we're ordering our food. They know. So they know what we're into. They're already checking in our baskets. So they don't need that's old news. Chipping people is old news. That was the Saturn Jupiter in Taurus, the physical. That's old news. They don't need that no more. They're working on much more subtle levels now. So we have to also start getting into more higher, broader, wider dimensions of thinking and knowledge. We cannot limit ourselves to any particular school of thought, way of being, way of learning, information. We need to get into it quick. Because for those who cannot adapt, just going to get wiped out. We're moving into, I know people are saying the age of information, but this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is really going to be one of the major key catalysts and triggers for that age of information, or that age of technology, or we could even say for that age of Aquarius, so to speak. It's all a part of a crucial cycle catalyst that's going to trigger that. End of materialism. That stuff has to go. End of fast fashion. The fashion industry's collapsed. It's collapsed literally overnight. Don't need that stuff. The oil industry collapsed. Colossal. Them man, they lost billions overnight. Because all of that stuff's dying out. They've already got the Tesla cars and all that. They want to make new leaps now. Free energy. It's all stuff that you can't. Nobody wants to be dealing with that stuff anymore. That stuff's going to soon fading out, and it's going to be fading out fast. They got their electronic cars there. You've got your drones. You've got all this kind of machinery and technology. And like I said, they're saying in the next 5 to 10 years, 60% of the jobs are gone. So what jobs are going to be left? You see, there's only certain kind of jobs. There's only going to be certain skills that are necessary, transferable skills necessary. Eventually, they're all going to go. And even some of these jobs that we're considering skilled jobs, they're going. They're going to go. You're going to get robots going to be doing it. Even like hand jobs, like plumbing and all these kind of, they're good jobs. They're good jobs to know, gas and all these kind of stuff. Electricians, you always need kind of there will be some that, okay, you're still going to need some human interaction. But there's going to be some that are going to be like, no, don't need that. Send in the robot. Send in the robot. The robot will do it. Robot will fix it. We don't need you. A robot will lay bricks. They'll probably make a robot that lays X amount of bricks in an hour, and they don't have to pay the robot. We just service it. We're not paying no robot's not going to demand a pay rise or anything like that. So certain humans are going to start to become real obsolete. That's where we're going to start seeing real problems. So the planetary cycles and the current times at the moment are indicating us to be innovative, to be creative. Aquarius is a zodiac sign that thinks outside of the box. The zodiac sign that comes before Aquarius, which is Capricorn, because the zodiac signs, quiet as they're kept, the zodiac signs are not just about, well, I'm a this, so I act like that. Okay, elements of that is true, yeah, of course. It's more to it than that. The zodiac signs are actually telling us a journey. And the zodiac sign that comes prior to Aquarius kicking in is the zodiac sign of Capricorn. And Capricorn essentially is the zodiac sign that is contained, it's connected with hierarchy, it's connected with tradition. You know, Capricorn is the zodiac sign that wants to keep and build the status quo. Keep it going, keep maintaining the structure and this idea of hierarchy. Aquarius is the zodiac sign that comes after Capricorn that says, hey, we've been doing this traditional stuff for X amount of years. How about we change it? It's not progressing. We're doing the same thing. So Aquarius is the one that says, we've got to change our way of thinking. We've got to, that's why Aquarius is very often, when you read sometimes these astrology books and stuff, you will hear, oh, Aquarius, it's the rebel. So you see people like Bob Marley, who was an Aquarius, who makes an album called Rebel Music. You know, he's this rebel. He takes on this quote unquote new philosophy and concept and religion of Rastafarianism, where you don't, you know, it's different. You know, he not to say that he was the founder of Rastafarianism, but he was a catalyst. He was nobody would have known what Rastafarianism. If you want somebody like Bob Marley, nobody would know. Rastafarianism will probably still be a small kind of, like, even today we'll probably say, oh yeah, you know, there's people in Jamaica practicing and they don't, yeah, they locks their hair and they follow people wouldn't have known. Bob Marley was the catalyst. He's the one who actually opened the door and showed that this is what Rastafarianism is about. So he was the catalyst for that. Perfect. You know, the universe selects and picks an Aquarius, you know. So somebody who's looking at things, Bob Marley, that's why he looked at things from a very kind of like, you know, socialist, because Aquarius is a very socialist zodiac sign. It's concerned with socialism and the progress of socialism. It's a very humanitarian zodiac sign, you know. That's why you see the interviews with Bob Marley. It's so typical of him. Sometimes, you know, you're like, you know, I remember there was one interview where he was saying, I think the guy was asking him about money or about possessions, and he said, look, I don't want this. Like, if I can't share this or give this, you know what I mean? If I'm seeing other people suffering, then my life's it don't mean nothing to me. Very, very socialist orientated. You know, that's the Aquarius nature. So Aquarius is the one that does something different. It's outside. It rattles the box. It brings about change. It brings this kind of progressive kind of form of consciousness. That is what Aquarius essentially is about. So we, with this Jupiter-Saturn coming up, conjuncting in the zodiac sign of Aquarius, is now asking us, change your ways. Be creative, be innovative, learn new things, even if it takes you out of your comfort zone. Aquarius is the zodiac sign that will take you out of your comfort zone. You know, when there's a new trends always take things out of people's comfort zone. You see, like when we see the youngsters or the youth sometimes maybe the kind of music that are, you know, very often we see like even Aquarius qualities in all new generations. all new generations will have a kind of Aquarian quality about them, because they need to change that status quo and bring a new dimension in. That's why very often, that's one of the reasons why the older generation very often, sometimes they just make that mistake where they see the younger people as someone different from them. And, oh, well, back in my day, we were dancing to, what's all this stuff you're dancing to? What's all this drill music and trap music and rap music? And, you know, we don't get it. Back in our day, it was all love and all this. And they don't get that. Yeah, that was the problem. That needed to change. It got a certain generation locked into a specific way of thinking and being. And what happens is, once something is created and it stays there for a certain amount of time, it gets corrupted. So something new has to come along to bring you out of that corrupted and dimension. So it brings something new. It shatters so this coronavirus, death of George Floyd, rise against oppression, is all a part of that, breaking that corruption, that old model of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in Taurus, which was Earth, which was about materialism, which was about money, which was about security. It's breaking all of that down, you see, and it's becoming more socialistic orientated, you see. Because isn't it funny? Look at what they did. Even yesterday, I was talking to a friend of mine in Shoreditch, and some guy was walking past. The guy's homeless, and he used to have a dog. My friend knew him quite well because he used to see him, and and he said, "Oh, I ain't seen you in a while." And he goes, "Yeah." He said, he goes, they put us in a hotel. You know, I've been in a hotel for the last 3-4 months, you know, because of the homeless. So my mate said, "What? They put you lot in a hotel?" He went, "Yeah," you know, because they were afraid of the coronavirus. You know, they were afraid that the homeless people were going to get it, and they were going to be the ones that are passing it on to everybody else. So what did they do? They put them in a hole. So I'm saying, hold on a minute. All while the coronavirus was on, you know, they housed all the homeless. There weren't no homeless people on the road. So I'm saying, you can house these people. You got space for these people. You have got space for these people. It's there. When you really want to do it, you can do it. You see, it's a forced action. You see, the universe shouldn't have to force you into doing that. It's only because of an extreme case, but it just lets you know that you can do it. Social housing is available. There's enough houses out there for everybody to be able to live. There's enough land for everybody there to live. So you can do it. And again, that is part and parcel of that Jupiter-Saturn in Aquarius, the socialistic idea. We're going to start seeing more of a socialistic attitude, you know. That's why this whole race thing had to come about, because it's about breaking down those barriers. Races are not going to get far if you're just, oh, well, it's just us. And especially if everybody's just being sort of like separated, and then on top of it, then you've got the hierarchy. So, oh yeah, so we're the dominant ones, and this is the dominant race, and that's it. Then no. Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius are not going to put up with that. No, you're all human beings. Respect one another, connect with one another, be creative, be innovative, and be progressive in a way so that humanity can take its next step to the next level. So that's why even with the marches, everybody, I don't care what color, what race, there were certain countries that were protesting. I went, what? You? Like, you know, like I'm talking like colors in Asia, taking a knee. Like I'm thinking, what? Like never. Even when Martin Luther King was shot in the head, you guys weren't, and that's why I'm saying, even people with high profiles, Malcolm X, Martin Luther got gunned down, and that didn't happen. And I'm seeing cultures like everywhere. The whole thing was, because even after a while I was thinking, this is moving. Like football, all of them had to wear Black Lives Matter, all of that. They're putting it in their faces. They're all of the footballers on their jerseys had to wear, nobody had, where they had the name of the footballers on the back, nobody was allowed to have their name on it. Or every jersey on the back, you'd have your number, it would just say Black Lives Matter. And before every game, all of them were taking the knee. All of them. So the movement was like, wow, that's humbling. That's humbling. And again, the gesture of taking the knee, you know, I think that is something that's a Saturnian thing. There's something humbling in that, taking the knee. You know, in where my parents, you know, I say where our parents come from, where I'm from in Nigeria, you know, there's a way that, you know, when you see elders, there's a particular way how you greet them. I know every culture has their way of greeting people, but there's some, like, you know, for the women, for example, they have to kneel down. When you see somebody who's older than you, you kneel down. Oh, that's for the women. For the men, we have to prostrate, so we have to lie down for the men. So men lie down, the women kneel down. So, but it's only for, like, obviously for somebody who's older than you. So, like, you see your auntie, your uncle, definitely your parents or your grandparents, you're lying down. You know, as a man, I'll be lying down. For a woman, you'll be kneeling down. But there's something about honor. There's something about being humble, respect. You know, that there's somebody's older than you, somebody's wiser than you. You know, somebody who's been there before you. You know, if you kind of just look at it from a kind of very kind of just rational kind of Western mind, you could kind of like, oh, why are you doing that? Why are you having to kneel down or something? But there's meaning behind, behind the purpose of why you would have to do that. So that kneeling down really was like, because I was watching people take the knee, and I was like, do you know what you're really doing? Do you know what you're really doing here? Like, what's the archetype that's moving you? And although they might say, okay, well, yeah, but they're kneeling down because the police guy kneeled on his thing. Because remember, there was the American football player. He's the one who started all that kneeling stuff. And if my mind serves me correctly, I think he's still out of a job. And now the whole world's doing what he did a few years back. He's out of a job. He still won't get signed because he took a knee in one of the major NFL games in America. And since then, they've ousted him and said they don't want nothing to do with him. And yeah, he can't find work. And now the whole world's doing it, you know, differently. And I'm thinking, wow, like, this is moving. Like, just to see, like, people, like, it's got, like, you wouldn't even connect those countries together. They're doing it. India, they're taking about. I'm like, wow. They've got pictures of George Floyd. I'm like, you for real? Like, that's how moving it is. But there's something about taking the knee, humble, symbolically, the soul, the consciousness, the collective consciousness, the universe is saying, you need to be humbled. You need to be humbled, you need to be brought down, you need to be grounded, you need to be earthed. Hey, calm it down. All this materialism, it's brought about, out of that materialism, is brought about disrespect for the planet Earth, is brought about disrespect for people, disrespect for human life. You know, people have become so entrenched in their money, they don't care. They're willing to go to extremes to even put people in slavery or treat people like they're still in slavery in order so that they can just keep this capitalist system going. And the planets are saying, no more, no more. And human consciousness, us as human beings, are saying, no more. It's got to end. So the Jupiter-Saturn cycle is going to be on December the 21st, but don't be sort of like saying, oh, well, I'm gonna wait till December 21st and I'm gonna say, no. It's there. That's why we have astrologers in our society that can say, hey, this is coming. You know, you don't wait until the when it's snowing and thing before you start buying your raincoat or your winter coat or whatever. You make sure that that's prepared. You've got that. You're not necessarily wearing it, but you make sure that you know those clothes are there ready. Your winter clothes are there ready before winter comes. Your autumn clothes are there before autumn comes. You see, That's why they raise the prices. That's why it's more expensive. If you want to buy a winter coat now, it's cheaper. But no, you know, a lot of people won't buy their winter coats now. They'll wait until it's winter. You see, that's why it's more expensive. Because you're not supposed to be buying it then. You're supposed to have bought it before when it was cheaper. But again, so this Jupiter-Saturn cycle in Aquarius, let us be mindful, creative, innovative. Let's try and think outside of the box. Let's not try to think in limited ways, one way. Because if you think one way, you're thinking in a limited way. Look at perhaps maybe multiple ways of doing things, whether it's your occupation, your work. A lot of people are going to be out of work because of this coronavirus and companies collapsing. A lot of people are going to be losing their jobs. Millions of people are going to be losing their jobs. But always remember, if one door closes, another one must open. Another one will open. So find your open door, because the universe has it there for us. Some of us are having to close certain doors and new ones will be opened for us. But unless okay, no problem. Unless we become aware of who we are, what we are, and look for your open door. Find creative ways. Don't be relying. The government are going to be doing what they think or feel is right for them or not for them, or whether they're using power towards their advantage. Yep, they're going to be doing that. But you don't need to get caught up in that. Find who you are, what you are, where are your strengths, where are your weaknesses, and work on, utilize your strengths to your best of your ability, work on your weaknesses to the best of your ability, and utilize them, and find what is the new door for you by December the 21st. So when that consciousness shift happens, you're not saying, oh, I didn't see this one coming. You're there. You know what steps to take, and you know what moves to make. On that note, guys, thank you very much. Don't know if there's questions and answers, but I'll hand it over to Auntie Jean, and she will conduct.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Very good, very good. And I must make my apologies for my lateness. Sister Queen, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough for stepping.
You're welcome.
That's the 3rd birthday, so we were celebrating it, and I had to drive down quickly from there after leaving there. Finally got out, but Sister Queen, oh, thank you so much. Any questions for our brother Israel from everybody? I mean, he gave us quite a bit of insight, a lot of information, some stuff that we know, but put more things into place.
Yeah.
So
I just want to say thank you very much for that big. It was very edutaining. It was awesome. It was when you put it in perspective, when you said December 21st, now we've got a goal to make sure we do stuff before December. And my whole time of lockdown, it wasn't a really stressful time for me. I spent time with my daughter, good quality time with my daughter, which I never had before. I stayed with her, and I've also gone into trading, as some of our viewers know. I've gone into that. Yeah. But also, I went into ASDA last week, and you're talking about robots taking over.
Right.
I went to ASDA last week, and you have the queue for self checkout. Checkout, yeah. Right. Even the queues for where the cashiers are, right, they are almost gone, because you can self checkout there too. Yeah. And that was shocking. It was like, wait. Yeah. They are really allowing the robot or machinery. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I mean, in some countries, they've even already got, you go in there, you buy your shopping, you can come out, and
the cameras are on you, they're scanning you, they know how much your thing weighs and how your shopping weighs. It's all there. They just need 1 or 2 people on site just for a thing. All of those jobs, they're all going. All of them are all going to go. Even your taxi drivers, your cab, all of that's going to go. They've already got their machines there on the road. They're testing them, self-driving machines. You're going to be calling Ubers, taxis. Don't need to pay. Don't worry. You just sit down and your thing will take you to your destination. It's all going to happen. They're showing us, or they've already told us and showed us in the movies, all those sci-fi.
Yeah.
They've already been there. They're showing us all that. It looks far-fetched from the times when we were seeing some of them movies in the 80s and the 90s, but it's all there. They're letting us know that that's where it's going towards. It's that's what the age of Aquarius essentially is about. So it's here. It's alive and well, and those things are going to be happening. So the question is, so then what are we going to be doing? Is it those people, where are we going to be transferring? What transferable skills are we going to be developing? Where is our mindset going to go? Because there's just going to be people who cannot adapt for whatever reason, and you're just going to get you're going to get run over. There's not going to be no place for you in society. You see, so let's start getting on there now. Let's start building now. Let's start getting into the technology. How does it work? How does it think? IT, computer science. What is the new ways now? Especially at the end of this year, because some people, again, they don't know where the next job is going to be coming from. There's always jobs out there. You just got to be creative. And just like what you said, you've gone online now. I know people who have gone on. Listen, I know people who were working some 9-to-5 dead-end job, hand to mouth, and since the corona, they've nearly become multimillionaires.
Wow.
Just by being innovative and just bang, what can I do? Go online and form. I was speaking to a sister just the other day. She said, I've got this online. Because I was thinking, what are you doing? How are you making money? She's like, I'm good. I'm doing thing in my house. And I'm just working from home. And I'll just set an online business. And then just say, she didn't take me much. I just, spent, a couple of £100. And boom, before you know it, she's got her own online business and she's making money. And I'm like, are you for real? She's like, yeah, I'm making this thing work. And I'm in my house. I haven't left my house. And money's in my account. And I'm like, look at that.
Well, a little plug there, because I'm doing trading and I've got back my investment in 15 days and more. So anybody who's interested, let me know.
Yeah. These are the kind of things.
Yeah.
These are the kind of things, like we need to, and you see, because you see all those kind of things now, what you're saying there, like investment, like people don't act like, I'm tired of hearing people, black people, we ain't got nothing, it's all these white people invest. No, you can invest. What are you talking about? You can invest, unless you're going to show me where it says whatever companies out there that saying black people can't invest. We can invest. Black people can invest. Every time I go to Nigeria, I've got nieces and nephews there. Then some investment. Then I've got nieces and nephews. Sometimes they're laughing at me. Uncle, what are you doing? They want to. You need to get on this. And I'm like, what? They're investing. I'm laughing at. I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, are you coming to London? They're laughing at. I've got nieces and nephews. They're laughing at me in Nigeria, saying, no, don't come to London. For what? What are we coming there for? Yeah, we might come for a holiday. That's how they're looking at me. And I'm thinking, what are you guys doing? Are you into them and they're on investments? They're making moves. So the opportunities are out there. They are out there. I'm not saying racism or systemic racism is not, but we can't get caught up in that. We can't let that define who we are. You see, we've got to have that mentality to just break that and keep it, okay, where does the universe want me?
Sorry to cut you. Time is against us. Anybody who has a question, unmute yourself past. Unmute yourself and ask your questions. If not, we can move on.
One question that the sister Dawn has put in is, how do we break the spell? So I don't need to answer that.
Yeah. Well, essentially, breaking the spell, it's by being aware. The first step to breaking the spell is it's an awareness. is to understand what spell is it that you're under in the first place, you see. And, you know, by being aware, self-awareness, as, you know, the ancient said, man, know thyself. Look at your surroundings. Look at your life in the past 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Has anything changed? Or are you in the same place? You know, breaking the spell is about being honest with yourself. It's about confronting that person in the mirror. And has your life changed in the last 5 years? Has it changed in the last 10 years? What has changed? And has it changed for the better or for the worse? Now, don't get me wrong. Everybody will go through some kind of crucial, critical, downside, not so great time. We will, whether it's through loss of a relationship, loss of work, issues with our children or family or whatever, we will encounter certain difficult circumstances. But that shouldn't define us. That's part of our experience. That's part of what makes us. So, but the question is, there should be some growth, some development. You see, you know, it's like I say again, like when I was young, I grew up around Stockwell, and there used to be this guy. His name was Purple, and you know, when we were young, he was a bit older than me, but you know, we used to kind of look up to him. You know, Purple. He was kind of like, you know, the bad man, the street guy, or whatever. You know, kind of gangster role, and we, you know, as youngsters, we kind of looked up to him. Oh, like Purple, you know, he's the bad boy. He's the, you know, so that kind. We were looking for that excitement, which was kind of understandable. But the thing is like when I left the area and then I came back, and I hadn't seen him for about 10 years. But I'm not disrespecting, but I'd come back and he was still doing the same thing, sipping on the tenants, begging for a $5 to buy some cigarettes. And I thought, but what was funny is, I left, and then I saw him again about another 10 years later. 20 years gone, you know. And he's still on the same thing, just doing the exact same thing. And that's where you got to think, hold on, at what point? You got to look back and say, has anything changed? No, nothing's changed. So that's where you start to break the spell. The moment you start to be able and open and honest with yourself, and you can say, right, you know what? Nothing has changed since in the last 5 years. I've been on that. So it's catching yourself on that hamster wheel. And once you know it, the door will open for you automatically. That will give you the information to know how to jump off of that.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wonderful. Israel?
Yes.
Brilliant. Okay.
Thank you, guys. Yes.
Thank you. Got Galactic Clyde coming up. We're gonna have a very short break. I'm gonna put something on, and Galactic Clyde, I hope you'll be ready after. Okay.
He's here. Galactic Clyde's there, man.
You see him.
Can I just say, Israel, can you put your details in the chat so we can connect with you?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. I'm not going to be able to open up the screen, but you still be able to see it, hopefully. Okay. Okay.
The sky might have the stars, the sun might have the moon. I heard somebody saying it could all be over soon. Please don't break my world. Please don't break my world. Please don't break my world. 'Cause this is where the living's going on. The sky might have the stars, the sun might have the moon. I heard somebody saying it could all be over soon. Please don't break my world. Please don't break my world. Please don't break my world. 'Cause this is where the living's going on. So please, 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 please don't break my world. Remembering a season, thinking of a time, trying to get back to a reason and a rhyme. Please don't break my world. Please don't break my world. Please don't break my world. 'Cause this is where the living's going on. So please, 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 please don't break my world. Please don't break my world. Please don't break my world. 'Cause this is where the living's going on. So please, 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 please don't break my world.
I forgot I was muted. Thank you. Right. Thank you again, Brother Israel. And don't go away because
No, I'm here.
good. Because I know said that Galactic Clyde will be roping you in.
Yeah.
So I'm going to introduce our next presentation by Galactic Clyde, and his presentation is interactive astrology. So Galactic Clyde, the screen is now yours, and welcome. Where you there? Where you there?
He's there. He's still muted.
Is it there? Unmute yourself, Clyde.
You have your face mask on. I'm on mute, Auntie Jean. I think
Oh, what happened there? He cut off.
He got lost. No, he
He's
moved.
back again. He's back again.
All right.
Unmute yourself.
You're muted, Clive. Unmute yourself. You lost the mute.
Okay, can you hear me now? Loud and clear. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah. Sounds a bit rugged a bit, but we can hear you.
Center yourself.
Yeah. Center myself. Can you hear me? Can you see
Yeah.
Yeah, man, we can see
me?
you, man.
Yeah, Brother Israel, lovely presentation. You know, astrology is key. It's
Yes.
key. Everybody have to realize this. And what I said to Auntie Jean, we want this to be interactive.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so let's make it interactive. Let's see who we have on board. We have We have loads of people. Yeah, let's throw down. Let's throw down. Yeah. So interactive astrology. Interesting. We're at the top of the hour. Top of the hour. The hour of the hour. And a lot of people, you know, need to know this, especially the younger generation, about the great cycle.
Yeah.
The great 26,000 year cycle.
Yeah.
You know. So really, we talk about the death of the great year. We're in what is called it the death of the great year, which is the birth of a new year, a new great year. Just like when a year goes, we call the old year, and the new year comes in, and people dress up in masks and look all funny.
Yeah.
You know, but my country, you know, you got people used to, like, when December comes, you got men putting on ladies' dress, and you see them out there, and they're not gay. Don't get it wrong, they're not gay, but they're showing you that the year itself is gay. It's going out with a bang. And so you see that, you see Miss Goosey and the Guppy and all of these things. But what you see out there, you see many putbills out there. You see people dressed up like putbill with a mask over their mouth. And it's like, wow, this is what we come down to, you know. And to me, a lot of this is really false. I'm into construction, and I wear masks when I'm working with dust and things like that and pollution. But, you know, when I look at health and safety, because mask is really like part of the health and safety, I always say this is about safety. They talk in construction about health and safety, but mostly is safety, not health. Because most of the people who deal with plumbers, a lot of disturbing stuff within the health, I mean, within the construction, pollution and stuff like that. They don't deal with the herbal stuff that would clean out or that would regulate the problems that they have. What they do, they put on gloves, you know, they put on masks, and they go home and they don't drink nothing to flush anything out. So they pick up virus from plumbing, virus from this, toxic, whatever. But it's all like, you know, is a bandage. And so that we have a bandage system. I hope Boris Johnson will hear this. Is all a bandage. So people are putting a big bandage on the mouth. Hush your mouth, boy. Yeah, there's virus out there. But, you know, we're supposed to be talking astrology. We are talking astrology. So what's the astrology of this whole pandemic? Israel, you call it out as you explained. I haven't seen the video, but I trust because I know where you are in terms of astrology. But you call it out in terms of a pandemic. I call it out as well. I call it Spicy 2020 because it's a real spicy year. It's a year that we can really look back and laugh about what we're doing and what is happening. But it's also serious because a lot of people has passed. You know what I mean? A lot of people have passed over some foolish notions. Because even in China, where the virus started, they give them herbal tea, they give them drinks, they talk about what they can use. Over here, all they tell you bandage, bandage, bandage. You put something over your mouth. You put something, you don't put nothing in your belly where the virus is going to be active. You cover your mouth. And the mouth covering can't stop the virus. Exactly, can't stop the virus. Virus is bandage here. We got to get beyond the bandage. If you're really going to do something, get into dogoyaro. What is dogoyaro? Dogoyaro is a herb from, well, Nigeria, they call it dogoyaro. Let me say, break it down. In over here, we call it neem. It's the same plant, you know? Dogoyaro is neem. Yeah, so you see a lot of those Africans taking those bush herbs or herbs in sticking bottles and put alcohol in it. The major component of that is dogoyaro or neem root or neem wood and whatever. You know, we got to know the herbs that we got to take to deal with the time we're in or to protect ourselves because we don't know what's out there. We don't know what they're throwing at us. We don't know what they're spraying. We don't know what they put in the food because they planned it a long time. And so we can talk about the plan, New World Order or New World Disorder, because they ain't ordering nothing. This is not a pizza game here. They're not ordering nothing. They have to move under the banner of the heavens just the same as all of us. Yes? So the heavens is saying we come to the end of the cycle. 26,000 year cycle has come to an end. And a new cycle is about to be born. And so we're going to the labor pain right now. We're going to the labor pain of the ages, walking between one world into another world. And it's a major crisis because a lot of us don't know about it, don't talk about it, but we know the New World Order crew or the New World Disorder crew been talking about ways and means they want to control this new era or they want to have a handle on what's going on. But you know, Israel, you were talking, that's why I said I want to be interactive because we're talking about technological and high technology. But in the Mayan system, they said something different. They said we're moving beyond technology. because technology is really our failure. And so, yes, it's technology, but not technology in the way of the physical form, but technology in the spiritual sense. Spiritual sense that there's some aspects of our technology that we haven't grasped. And that means able to communicate with one another from far. Yes, from far. Yeah, able to hear one another, you know, clear audience, clear sight, clear vision, you know, healing, long distance healing. These are the powers that coming in. These are the new technology from the cosmos, not from Bill Gates, Ill Gates, or Hell Gates, not from him. They're just merely bandits. They just merely want to control the world in terms of having a handle and think all the money they got, they can buy people and own people and dictate for people. There's another power here more powerful than them. And that's what we got to talk about. And that's the power of the heavens. Heaven declare the glory of God, and the earth showeth his handiwork. Day unto day uttered speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. There's no speech, no language where their voice, the voice of the heavens, the voice of the planets is not heard. It's in the Bible, Psalms 19, but most people don't interpret it as planetary influence because we're not taught to understand that the planets are the influence. As above, so below. What's above the planetary kingdom is above. And below is the earth kingdom we call the plants, from plants to planet and from planets to plant. But we're also plants as well. We're plants, we're human plant, and we connect with the heavens, and the heavens is connected with us. Sorry, when I get a bit, you know, super duper like that, I talk fast, yeah? So I'm not good at slowing it down when the spirit hits. So I'm going to try my best, yeah? But I'm sure everybody get it. Anybody wants to come in and interact, let's come in, interact, ask a question. Let's talk about it, yeah? Just unmute yourself and let's talk, because sometimes it's good. Auntie Jean, I love this because we can go till 2 o'clock in the morning and the Auntie Jean show, yeah? So that's so good, we can talk. So let's flow. Questions, you know, throw them at me in Israel, throw them at me, however you want to go away on the talk. Because sometimes people have burning questions, but sometimes we get the lockdown because we're confined to certain time limits, yeah? So let's interact, yeah? We're in a very, yeah, go ahead, let's hear you.
Greetings, sorry. My question is, you guys, astrologers, mention the Bible. What is your belief with the Bible and astrology?
Let's talk about it. That's a very good one. What we realize about the Bible, especially we as astrologers, the Bible is actually the astrologer data coded. It's coded astrology. You understand? So the Christ, let's talk about the Christ, which is the main topic of the Bible, yeah, in the New Testament, yeah. The Christ is actually the S-U-N. It's taken from the ancient Heru, which is the sun. So the sun died on the cross every year, not just 2,000 years ago. Every year the sun goes on the southern cross and died and reborn again. And that story comes down to us as the story of Christ, Christus. But the story of Christ is also the story of the soul. So in the outer teaching is the story of the S-U-N, the sun. In the inner teaching is the story of the soul. In the biblical teaching is the story coded as Christ or Heru or the Yahshua Ben Pandera. So you get the stories being coded, and we need to uncode that, we need to realize that. So this is why we can go in there and see what the astrological connection, that's why we can quote it, because we know that it's the astrological data in coded form. This is why we come back to it, because we can read a lot of it, because a lot of it is astrology, astrotheology. Yeah. I hope that answers your question.
In a nutshell, yeah.
And I'm going to jump on the Rastas for a minute, because the Rastas quote it a lot as well. But the Rastas, a lot of them don't touch into the metaphysics. And sometimes they just link, you know, let me bring a scripture here. The Bible said the letter kills, but the spirit giveth life. Now, what is that saying? The letter of the word, the letter of the book is actually the physical saying or the physical writing, but the meaning is the spirit. So when we're looking for the meaning, we're looking for the spirit. When we're looking for the spirit, we're looking for the meaning. So you read something, but you have a deep meaning because that's the spirit of it. But the letter is like the law. It's like the foundation, that the container or the cloak that is cloaked in. But when we go beyond the cloak, we realize, hey, that's somebody behind that clothing. You know what I mean? Maybe a man or a woman, you know? Like I just said, in Christmas time, a man dressed up as a woman, and you see Miss Goosey, and you would realize it's a man because he dressed so nice. He's not a faggot. He's not lesbian, he's not gay, but it's just they recognize that the cycle is dying and it's changing from man to woman or from woman to man. because the cycles just go, they're male and female. Monday might be male, Tuesday is female. Wednesday might be male, Thursday is female. It's like that because the cycle got light and day, darkness and night, in and out, up and down. That's how they work, male and female. It's just like that. So when we talk about the sun, the feminine type, the sun is the moon, but the sun also got a feminine aspect, right? Israel, what we call it, the solar cycle, when the solar return every 19 years, 20 years, yeah?
Yes.
So we got so it shift from male to female and back again.
Yes.
You know, so we got this cycle because the ancient says, thanks Israel, the ancient say all the cycles, all, not some, all the cycles of the universe is just like the cycles of man. Yeah. So in man's cycle, what we got the child, then we got the youth, then we got the adult, then we got the old age, and then we got death and come back again, wheel and come back again, man come back as a child again. You know, that's why Bob Marley sing that song, you know, the biggest man you ever seen was once a baby in this life, in this old sweet life, coming in from the cold, you know. So all of us was once crawling, you know. One of us was once crawling and falling down, now we can walk. And then we look down at other people who were just crawling. And sometimes that's what happened in this world. We that are up there in the height, or those that are up there in the height, look down at other people like they didn't climb up the way they get to go. They didn't born that way, you know. So all of us started out as a baby until we get to wherever we are. Yeah. So the cycles are just like that. So the baby cycle, the adult cycle of the universe right now, we are 26,000 years. This is an old man. And I used to say the Pisces age is on his deathbed. He's more than on his deathbed. Now he's dying. He's crying out. He's giving up the ghost. And the Aquarian age is coming into being. We've been born a new age. And a new age means new rulership, just like a new government, just like a new parent, you know, or a new child. So the age is coming in as a new child to be born, to get old and die again. So we witness the death. And that's why I call the mass the closing of the mouth ceremony. What happens when you're dead? Your mouth closed. Even if you open, you can't say nothing. Yes, and so that's the closing of the mouth ceremony. And you see everybody's witnessing to that because everybody's wearing the mask. And they look at you. I'm on the bus the other day. I walk in the bus driver, I say, where's your mask? I say, where's yours? Where is yours? And I just walk and leave him, you know? All you have to do is tell them, listen, I'm uncomfortable wearing the mask. It stopped my breathing and I can't wear it. And if they tell you anything, you say, listen, you're not privy to my medical record. I'm sorry. Okay? You want to go against the law, what? So it's up to you. If you want to wear your mask, okay. If you want to wear masquerade, that's fine. Masquerade is also good. They bring a lot of spiritual message. You understand? But know what you're doing, you know? Because there is a control mechanism in what is happening. And we need to understand that they're trying to push us towards a vaccination cycle where they want to control people through vaccination. They actually want to pattern us all. But we're not falling for that. But we understand, let's go back to the astrology again, that the last conjunction that we have with Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, which complete the cycle, actually happened in the last decan of Capricorn. And the last decan of Capricorn is ruled by the health sign, Virgo. Yeah? So we deal with issues of health, which is very interesting, why we could call this a pandemic, to see the aspect of this. And you can see this is like a 30-year repeat, isn't it, Israel? You see that the cycle in connection to the AIDS and what's happening, it's all like a repeat of that last cycle, that cycle of Saturn going to Capricorn.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Israel.
Yes. Yeah, most definitely. We definitely see it. And even with the conjunction of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction as well, because the last time there was conjunction of the AIDS virus. So it repeats. Yeah, Israel, I don't know if you got your ephemerals. I don't have mine on me. What was the degree of Saturn-Pluto in back in September 11? Because I was saying that they were conjunct in Gemini. There is some level of Gemini connection with that conjunction of Saturn and Pluto, the last one. Do you remember the degree? Can you check the degree for me? And just the last conjunction with Saturn and Jupiter was in Taurus.
But what degree? Because I'm looking at it in Gemini. But yeah, go ahead.
Gemini.
Like it was struggling though.
Yeah, no, Gemini is where the 9/11 the 9/11 bombing then Saturn was in Gemini then.
Right. Yes. So I'm
That's
looking at the
2000.
connection. But what degree? If you, okay, that's what I'm saying. If you can check the degree while we're talking, it was 14 degrees. The conjunction.
14
degree.
14 degrees.
Okay, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That Saturn Jupiter conjunction, because that Saturn degree. I'm glad you touched on the Saturn Jupiter conjunction early to let people know where we're heading. Because if you notice, they're pushing everything up to December.
Exactly.
But that is what I call an explosion. December is an explosion. Why is an explosion? Because when you have restriction and expansion, you get explosion. What is restricted and what is expansion? Saturn is the planet that's restricted, restrict. Jupiter is the planet that expand. And when they conjunct together, you got restriction and expansion, which creates explosion. If you look at any bombing that takes place, it's always something that is compact and then something that ignites that compaction.
Yeah.
And so we're compacting something this year and it's going to ignite. And that's where the explosion takes place. So we're getting ready for major explosion coming through for December in connection to Saturn, Jupiter in Aquarius. Israel, you were talking about Taurus just now, which is very interesting, but also just in connection to what you're saying, with the Saturn, Jupiter in conjunction in Aquarius, the ruler of Aquarius would be in Taurus, which is Uranus in Taurus. With Uranus, so it's actually squaring. It's almost like I set off, and so the energy is like, look at it like your mom send you to do, your mom or your dad send you to do something, but at the same time send you out to do something, but at the same time create restriction around what you're doing. About the eclipse, when they put a plate of food, but then they have the blinding light before you. Yeah. I don't know if you remember that saying with the eclipse. That's how the Jews explain the eclipse. Yeah. It's almost like you've been prepared. Food is prepared before you, but you can't get to it. Yeah. Because there's a blinding light that restricts your effort to get to it. It's similar like what's going on in England anyway. Because during the pandemic, they tell you they're gonna give you this money, but you ain't seen it. You know. So so part of this whole Saturn Jupiter conjunction is actually major shifting, because both Saturn, which is going to be in Aquarius, and Jupiter in Aquarius conjuncting would be squared by the ruler. So it's like the two of them are in Aquarius conjunct, but the ruler is saying, I'm squaring, I'm making a major shift in here. So we have a major shift that's coming up for December, and people need to be prepared. Guess what I'm going to be doing? I'm going to be making sure that a lot of people have herbs, certain herbs coming into the fall, winter. That's something me and Auntie Jean was talking about, is getting you the herbs at a discount rate before the next lockdown, before the next pandemic. I didn't say pandemic, I said pandemic, because we know they're planning this left and right, and they're recalculating every time because their sat-nav is not perfect, yeah? And so we have to be prepared, or we have to prepare our people, because what they're saying, our people are dying faster than one another. Well, let's just get into that, because I was thinking about this on a psychological level, yeah? Because if they're saying, hear what they're saying, because our people are suffering more based on the pandemic, yeah, that we need to be vaccinated first. Well, let's look at it from a financial level. We're suffering more in the financial crisis. Why not we being paid first? Why they're not giving us better loans? Think about this. I want you to think heavy about this, everybody. Why they're not giving us the loan since we're on the poverty line? Why are not we helped first? Yeah, we're not being helped at all. But yet with the medical, they want to inject us first. It doesn't make no sense. We say, give us the loan first, and we don't need the injection, we could buy herbs. Right? So you see the analogy, they're playing with us. So we got to put it back on them. I said, if they really want to give us something, give us better system to deal with. Give us equal rights in terms of when we go to the bank, we're not turned down because they consider poverty, we're poverty stricken. Give us the best education because we're low on the line of education. Are they want to do that? No, they want to give those on the top. Well, how they want to give those on the top, what's good? But the vaccination now, they want to give us first. Doesn't add up. And when things don't add up, what you do, you divide and subtract. So we divide and subtract. Yeah? Anybody have anything burning they want to say, a statement they want to contribute? Even you, Israel, go ahead. Interactive.
Yeah, man, interactive. And even based on what this sister, I believe it maybe she was asking earlier on about the Bible, you know,
Yes.
you know, the whole Bible is from start to end is astrological. Every story in there is astrological. But you see, the way our ancestors used to write, they wrote in metaphors. They wrote in metaphors and wrote in, you know, allegorical words. Because you see, if you have something as a literal, it loses over time. But if you write in allegorical and in poetic ways, and you know, and mythology, all the mythology is, it's telling you the real deal, but it's put it in a story form. You see, you know, with English, you know, when they're writing, they, like, so for example, like, or they may say, oh, you put the screw and screw it into the hole or something like that. You know, our ancient ancestors didn't write like that. They would say, oh, there was a tall man and he wanted to go inside a hole, and they'd make a story out of it, because it's a way how you can pass on the knowledge to the children. You know, it sticks. When it's in a poetic way, we remember it. That's why the children, for those of you who have children, that's why when you have children, what they teach you, they say, oh, nursery rhymes. Yeah, they teach them nursery rhymes, they teach them poems, all these nursery rhymes. Why? Because what is a nursery rhyme? A nursery rhyme, essentially, all those nursery rhymes, they're all astrological, you know, but you see, it loses its meaning over the years. It's all astrological, but it's a way, when you teach our children, when we teach our children all those nursery rhymes and all those stories about Three Little Piggy and Werewolf and all that, this is all, they're talking all about the planets. But they put it in a way that it's an entertaining way, so that the child can remember all of that. So when we go back to the Bible now, all of those stories are all astrological. So when you start hearing about, oh, the 12 tribes of Israel, 12 apostles, why 12? Well, why not 13? Why not 14? Why not 19? Why does it have to be 12? Why did Jesus? You're trying to tell me a man like Jesus will be walking around and only 12 men want to follow him? There's gonna be, he could have a crew of people, he could have 100 people. So why is it at 12? No, because it's the 12 signs of the zodiac. So we know all this. When we start hearing about these numbers, this is why the number 7 keeps coming up. What is the 7? Seven planets, 7 chakras in the body, in the human body, the 7 sacred planets. You see, the 7 visible planets that we can see with the naked eye. So from the sun up until Saturn is all the 7 planets, 7 days of the week, the 7.
I like that.
You know, so you have this, all the numbers. That's what, they even have a book in the Bible called the Book of Numbers. Why you have a book called the Book of Numbers? This is meant to be a book that's giving you instruction, but there's a book in there called the Book of Numbers. So why numbers? Because numbers, all these numbers, they're dealing with all sacred. It's all dealing with sacred geometry, because the planets, the way in terms of how they orbit the sun, they form particular shapes and patterns that correspond with geometric patterns in nature, in man, in the human body. And the ancients knew all this. So the Bible essentially is a book that is telling us all about our relationship with the cosmos. It's a book on cosmology, you see. But the problem is religion. What the organized religion has done is they've taken out the allegorical. They've taken out so they just make everything literal. So when
Israel, people like us are dangerous, you know that. We are dangerous because we're spoiling the youth like Socrates, because we give them the clear cut. We give them everything clear cut. And so, you know, that's why we're coming out now, because before we were building behind the scene, but now we're mainstream in the sense that we can say, yeah, we know what's going on. We know the game that's been playing, because we can read it from a high and more intelligent book than the book that they have written down here in the libraries, because the book of the heavens is the main book. So let's go into the story. Let's go into a story here. The name Aquarius, the sign Aquarius in the Hebrew version, the sign is called Delay.
Yeah, exactly. So the whole Aquarius thing, this is where we get the story of Samson and Delilah.
Yes, that's where I'm going. Yes, go ahead.
Delilah is the water bearer. So Samson is the sun. Now in astrology,
Let me stop you there, Israel.
Yeah,
Let me stop you there.
yeah.
You're right on it.
Yeah.
But the word Samson in Hebrew means the son. Samson.
Yeah,
Go ahead, continue. Yes.
That's what. Yeah, you're right. So
Yes.
that's what I'm saying. So Samson. So what is it they say about Samson? They say Samson is this child who's born. Is born. So this is what they say. They say he's a Nazarene. Okay, if you read the Bible properly, they say he's a Nazarene. Okay, what's a Nazarene? Nazarene is of one of the tribes of Israel.
Is that you don't want to go there, the Nazarene, because there's a whole heap of things on that. But
Exactly.
go ahead.
So the Nazarene people, like when you read about their laws, there's certain specific ways that the Nazarenes are supposed to live. And one of the major things that the Nazarene do, they're not supposed to cut their hair. Even Jesus was a Nazarene. That's why they call it Jesus of Nazareth. Nazareth means he's a Nazarene. Okay?
Yes.
That's where the whole Nazareth thing comes from. So that's why every time you see Jesus, he's got long hair. Because why? They're not supposed to cut their hair. Now, what is the symbol of the hair? The hair is the rays of the sun.
Yes, exactly.
What they're telling you is the rays of the sun. So, so Delilah is means the water bearer, which is Aquarius, right?
Yes.
So, what is the connection? What is the connection with Samson and Delilah? Now, in astrology, the sun is in detriment in Aquarius. Yes. Why? Because this is the coldest time of the year. Yeah? Yes. When the month Aquarius is, that is the winter. That's in the middle of the winter. Yeah?
And it's in the opposite time.
End of January to end of February. Yeah? That's the middle of winter. So that is when the sun has the least amount of rays. Mm-hmm. So when the sun enters Aquarius, there's no ray. That's why it's very gray, it's doom and gloom, kind of, there's no sunshine or no nothing. So that is symbolic. So when the sun enters Delilah, so the story about the Samson, him going on to Delilah and Delilah cutting his hair, really is the story of the sun moving into the sign of Aquarius, where his rays, the sun, the rays that go around his head now get cut off. It get weak. So because that's when the sun is at his weakest.
Yes.
So his sun is at his weakest. So that's why they said in the story that what did they do when they cut off his head? When they cut off his head, they said that they turned him blind. They took out his eyes so that he can't see, because you can't see in winter. Winter is dark. That's when you have all those dark days and all that. You know what I mean? There's no sunshine or whatever. So it's symbolic of them cutting off the sun's rays. It's a story about the sun. So that's why he said. That's why if you read in the Bible, he said when his hair started growing back, they said his hair started growing back, and then they said Samson prayed to God, and then he said that put me between two pillars. Mm-hmm. And if you put me between the two pillars, he pushed the two pillars and he bring down the temple, right? Okay.
East and west.
Right.
East and west.
Yeah. What is
the temple? Yeah, go ahead.
The two pillars, Gemini. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
What is Gemini? When is Gemini? Gemini is spring. Okay? It's the end of spring. So this is when the sun is starting to get its rays back again. Yeah? So during that month. So that's why he said that put me between the two pillars. The two pillars represent him getting his strength back, because the sun starts to get his strength back when it's at the end of the sign of Gemini, just before it moves into Cancer. We get the summer solstice. Yeah, so he said, put me between the two pillars. So I bring down the temple when I'm between the two pillars. That's when the sun is start getting his power back. His hair is starting to grow again. So
yeah, Israel, can I stop you for a minute there? Yeah, I also look at the two pillars as east and west as well, because that is the end of after Aquarius come Pisces, then the end of the year.
Yeah,
so the pillar could represent the end of that cycle, bringing down the whole temple of the year, and then starting a new cycle.
Most definitely.
That also could represent that, which is also symbolic of the Gemini.
Yeah. Because remember, both Pisces and Gemini are both mutable signs. So they're double-bodied signs. So they work in the double. So that's why anytime you read in the Bible, you hear about Jacob and Esau, Cain and Abel, all these twin babies, they're all to do with Gemini. You see, they're all talking about the split. They're talking about the Gemini. You see, that's why you keep getting all these doubles. You keep getting these brothers, Solomon and Adonijah, Christ and the devil, or Christ and Satan. So you keep getting these, the one against the other, Cain and Abel. This is the story of the Gemini, what they're bringing.
Let me come in again here, because that's very good, Israel. But there's another part that I tried to discuss, that I've been discussing also on the connection of the Rasta philosophy. Because the Nazarene vow in the physical form is the hair, but in the spiritual form is the sperm.
Right.
So when a man said they take on the Nazarene vow, it means that they're not going to be utilizing this form for the lower nature, but to rise to the higher consciousness. So that's another aspect of the Nazarene vow. So when you take on the Nazarene vow, you mean you're not cut your locks, neither you're going to deplete your energy.
Exactly.
That's why you find a lot of the priests, they would stay away from fornication or stay away from women, because they build up their energy for higher consciousness, and so they can tap into the heavens and other dimensions in that sense. So the Nazarene vow is also about holding on to your semanic energy and using that for spiritual powers. And so that's very important for brethren and sisters to realize, because within us is that seed of higher consciousness. And the seed of higher consciousness, most time we use it for low consciousness, just like the Jack and the Beanstalk story. When that bean is growing up to the heavens, you're able to transcend into the higher dimension. But most time we waste that seed or that semanic energy on the lower aspect, and just for the sense organs, just for good feeling and niceness, you know what I mean? Yeah. But we also need to realize that we can hold that energy and use it for higher consciousness, because the same sexual energy is the same spiritual energy, depends if you're going north or going south.
Yeah. No, most definitely. And that was even part of the rules of the Nazarene. You're not supposed to cut your hair. You're not supposed to drink alcohol, to like get drunk, and you again, you're supposed to abstain from sexual activity, and that's why it looks like, oh, Jesus didn't have no wife or anything like that, because again, he was a Nazarene. It's not that they can't have sex, they can, or they can have wives, but they can't just have, just like what you were saying there, Brother Galactic Pride. They can't just have sex just for pleasure reasons and just chasing a whole heap of women and having sex just for pleasure reasons. They want to be able to sublimate that semen energy, that sperm energy.
A spiritual orgasm. Going ahead.
Yeah. So that's the rule there of the Nazarene. So when we start looking at the Bible and looking at all of these stories here, they're all talking about particular zodiac signs, Lot and his wife, and all these stories. They're all to do with Taurus, Gemini, or all this your Moses story that's talking about taking the Israelites out of out of bondage, out of Egypt. The historians already tell you that there were no slaves in Egypt. It's not slaves built, because that's the story that they want to give us, that, oh, the slaves build the pyramids and stuff like that. The Egyptians didn't have. Dr. Ben, you kind of made that clear. All the Egyptologists, historians, they tell you they come to they know that there was no slaves in Egypt. Egypt didn't need to keep no slaves. It's a high civilization. They didn't need to do that. But the story, but they fabricate the story of Moses and say, oh, that's the story of taking the Israelites out of bondage and bringing them into the promised land. That story essentially is about an astrological age, coming out of the age of Taurus and coming into coming into the age of Aries.
Aries, yes.
So
the golden calf.
Yeah, exactly. That's why that's why Moses got angry with them when he saw them worshiping the golden calf, because it's symbolic. It's like you're regressing. You understand?
Israel, slow it down and let's go into that story for everybody, because I don't think they get that with what happened when Moses went up in the mountain and come back down in the golden calf. Go into that there a little bit for
yeah. So the story of Moses bringing the Israelites out of the promised land, out of the bondage. The bondage is Taurus. Okay, because Taurus is the physical sign. It's the most physical sign. It's the fixed sign, earth sign. So the idea that you get trapped in the bondage, just like I was saying with the Jupiter-Saturn in the last 20 years, the last Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in Taurus, it makes us start, we've been in bondage. You understand? We're caught up in the physical world. So the age of Taurus.
Can I stop you for a minute? Because there's another part I want to add to this, which is the bondage here. When we talk about bondage, we're also talking about the cycle. A cycle is like a contract, is a bond. You know, so the year is a bondage, is a circle of a contract that happens. You know, Rasta sing it, kill I today, you can't kill I tomorrow, because the bond seems to be under the bond. So slavery is like a bond that ends, and there's a new cycle begins. So when we talk about bondage, we also talk about cycle that anchor what is happening for a period of time, and then it comes to an end. I want people to grasp that. Go ahead.
No, most definitely, brother. So the Moses story essentially is an allegorical story that is telling the people of that time that they needed to move out of the age of Taurus and move into the age of Aries, because that was the new dimension. So just like now, how we are now moving out of the age of Pisces and supposed to be moving into the age of Aquarius, that new, consciousness we're meant to be taking it on. But, just like how we're seeing now, like there's still many people, they're still regressing. They still want to go back to the church and go back to that, because they're regressing into like the age of Pisces. So the same thing was back then. So that story was letting us know how we were meant to move out of the age of Taurus. Okay, you see Egypt. That's why they use Egypt as the story. Because why Egypt? Because Egypt was the highest civilization that embodied the age of Taurus. That's why the pyramid and all them buildings, all them temples are still standing to testimony, because they take on the energy of the Taurus. That's why when you go all in Egypt, you see the bull. They're worshiping the bull. They're worshiping the bull. That's Taurus. So they fabricated the story and used the Egypt story, saying that they had slaves or whatever. It's got nothing to do with slave. It is to do with a consciousness moving out of the age. So when Moses went to the mountaintop to go and get the law, you see, when he go and get the law from God on the mountaintop, and he come back, and then he find the Israelites. They'd melted, they'd taken the gold and whatever, melted it and make this bull, this golden bull, and they start worshiping the golden calf. The golden calf is Taurus. So the story is letting you know that the people, certain people of a certain consciousness who were not advancing, who were not ready to make that move into the new age, who got caught up with the age of Taurus, who were trapped in the age of Taurus, continued to worship the Taurus energy, continued to worship the bull. So that's why when Moses come down and he said, he get angry because he see them, he's saying, look, we're meant to be moving into a new world. The story is trying to tell you that we're meant to be moving into a new age, which is the age of Aries. You see, that's why we're going into the desert. That's why, if you notice, all of the things with Moses, he's talking about the rod and all this kind of stuff. This is all to do with Aries. If you look at the characteristic, he's always using the rod, and he's using the rod to strike this and rod to strike that. The rod is a symbol of Aries. You see, that's why.
And the tablets as well. The tablets is the left and right hemisphere of the brain, yeah?
Yeah. The tablet also connected with Gemini as well. You see.
Okay.
You see, it's connected with Gemini. Because remember, Moses is a Levi. Yeah? And Levi is connected with Gemini because Levi is connected with the law. You see, they're the ones like the teachers, and they have to do it. That's why Gemini is connected with communication and teaching and things of that nature. So it's connected with the law. Those are the law writers, the people who write down the scrolls and all the information, and the teachers and the mentors and all that. That's all to do with Gemini. So the two tablets is the left and right hemisphere, but it's also connected also with the Gemini also as well. And so that's why when he come down to give them the law, you see that, listen, you guys are moving back. You're regressing. It's supposed to be we're meant to be moving into the age of Aries. So that's why he get angry, and they say he smash the tablets, and he get angry and smash the tablets or whatever, and damn them and punish them and whatever, because of what they're doing, because they were regressing back. They weren't moving into the age of moving into the age of Aries, where they should have been essentially moving into. You see, the whole idea of moving into Israel or the promised land and stuff, that was all connected with Aries. You see, that's why in the Judaic religion, because remember, it's from that story, they say that's where the Jews come from. They attach or they align their story to the story of Moses. If you go into the Jewish religion, you see that it's heavily influenced by the zodiac sign of Aries. They still today during the Pesach, you still see them blowing the ram's horns. Yeah, they still have the ram's horns.
Yes.
Yeah, you see them still, even with the payas, with the Jews, and they've got the two locks. You know, it's to do with the ram's horns. You see, you see them have the two locks at the side of the head. It's to do with the ram's horns. So the Jews are still heavily entrenched. You see, they're still taking the concepts, the ideas of those astrological, and they're playing it out again in their everyday, everyday religion. You see, so it's to do. That's why they have to wear the skull cap and all that kind of stuff, because Aries rules the head. Yes, Aries rules.
Okay.
The head. So you still see the principles of in the Judaic religion that is connected with the age of Aries. It's connected with Aries.
Okay, let me come in there for a minute. It's very important for people to understand, just like how we have the monthly cycles of the year, we have the ages, which are monthly cycles and are higher active. They're actually 2,160 years. And every time we come to that, with a major shifting in the world. And so we're on that time now, we're in that timeline now where we're shifting from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius. In the story of where Christianity came in the shifting of the age of Aries to the age of Pisces. That's when we're moving from Judaism into Christianity. But what happened then is that Christianity of the ancient world was taken over into what we have now through the Council of Nicaea.
Yeah.
What we're experiencing now, another takeover from Christianity, which is the Piscean age, into the Aquarian age. We're dealing with a medical Nicaea as opposed to a religious Nicaea where we had in the Council of Nicaea. What we deal with the medical Nicaea, a lot of the things they're telling us doesn't add up medically, even so. So we're dealing with a medical Nicaea, and you're supposed to believe what they're telling you without any kind of it's like it's so much falsehood going on right now in the medical Nicaea that we're dealing with. And it's important for us to understand, because if we don't understand the cycle before, it'd be hard for us to understand what's happening now. We're in a cycle similar to the ending. It's almost like when you come in a crossroad, there's a shift in between the two energies. You know, when two people meet, whether they become husband or wife, they both energies have to change in order to make a one energy, because somebody has to give up something to make this relationship work. And that's what happens between the age. So the thing about it, especially a lot of people who are in the Christianity that are handing down to us from Rome, don't understand it as the biblical saying said, they drink of the old wine, they have no place for the new. They're caught up in what was happening then without the understanding. And so now we're telling them, or we're explaining, we're moving into a new age. It's about Aquarius, it's about technology, but people don't want to hear that because they're still wrapped up in the old system of the Piscean age that didn't add up in a few sense, because it's been taken over by the so-called elites in that sense. And now what we have is some indoctrination age. So through the Council of Nicaea. And what they're doing now is influencing technology in this way that we don't understand that technology itself, there is a spiritual component to technology that is not from the physical computerized system, which is technology, but there's another deeper meaning to technology where we would understand the universe in a more unraveling power. The universe would actually communicate even more in depth to us and show us ways and means to organize ourselves in a better framework than just AI. You know, because that's why I say spiritual intelligence is more important than the AI technology, because spiritual intelligence overrides AI. Even some things that you can do on the computer is because of your spiritual connection. Because sometimes you take up a computer and you don't know how to do certain things, but your spirit guides you to that, because your spiritual intelligence can override anything that technology could bring us. And this is where we're at in this day and time. But another thing, Israel, which I've been talking about, is that to note that all the ages are going backward. So they're retrograde. And this is why we have to have issues when we're coming into the age, because all the ages are retrograde.
Yeah. Yeah, because the precession of the equinox is moving in the other direction. So again, for those people who are maybe wondering that, oh, you're talking about moving from the age of Taurus into Aries and, you know, it's going backwards. So yeah, it's going backwards because the precession of the equinox, which is what the 26,000 year cycle is based on, it's going in the opposite direction. But that's also going through the zodiac as well. But it's moving in the opposite direction as well. So that's why it's going retrograde, as brother said. So we move from age of Taurus into age of Aries. Aries went into Pisces. Pisces is now finishing. Now we're Aquarius.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Sorry, Israel. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, brother.
No. So I was just,
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to say, I remember growing up, when we were going to town, because we're looking, when you're moving forward, remember when I used to go to town with my dad in his car and everything, and I'm watching all the trees going backwards. And we're going forward, but all the trees are going backwards. And I couldn't understand that when you're young, you see everything going backward. It's the same thing with the age, because as we move forward in life, the bigger cycle is going backward. And it's that backward movement becomes an energy in itself, wave, which is called the age.
Yes.
People are looking at it,
Yeah, no,
it's important. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it. Yeah, so the energies, so just like I was saying now we're coming out of the age of Pisces, but you're still getting people hanging on or holding on to the old framework or to the old consciousness. And like Brother Clyde is saying, the whole age of Aquarius, it's an air sign. An air sign, it's something, it has to operate on a higher frequency, a higher dimension, spiritual dimension. Air is something that we cannot see. Out of all the four elements, it's the only element that we cannot see with the naked eye. So it represents something unseen, something spiritual, something in the ether. But also, like what Brother Clyde was saying there, like it's like the medical. You see, what you see 2,000 years ago at the Temple of Council of Nicaea. Now the priests, so your priests, your bishops, your popes, they became they became the leaders for what was going on in the society, in the community. Whatever they said, everybody followed, everybody believed. Congregation would go to church, whatever the pastor said, that's what the law was, because the pastor said it. But you see, that's changed now. Your new bishops and your new popes are the new scientists and medical people now.
Yes.
Those are the new ones now. You understand? So they're the ones that said, oh, you got to do this, you got to take this vaccine, or you got to take this drug, or this is how you treat this, or whatever, and everybody follow it. You see, nobody's questioning, no one's questioning. There's only a few people who are waking up and saying, no, well, I don't have to do this like this. I can do the research for myself, and I can find out myself, and I can drink 2 herbs or whatever, or I don't need to take that herb, and I can heal myself or cure myself. So this is what's happening now. So more and more people are becoming more awake. They're not just following what, those so-called people, those so-called leaders are saying. So that's why even with the pandemic, every time Boris Johnson came out and was making a speech, he's saying, oh yeah, I'm consulting, the scientists are saying, every minute he kept saying, oh yeah, we're getting this from the scientific people, from what the doctors are saying, from whatever scientific people are saying, because they are the voice. Whatever they say is going. The pharmaceutical companies, the ones that are ruling, massive billions and trillions amount of money, the industry in, throughout the world right now. The whole industry, the whole health industry is being run by the pharmaceutical company right now. So whatever it is that they say, they are now the new preachers. They are now the new popes, the new bishops, the ones who are going to be having that power. So for people who are not prepared or want to stay in that state of ignorance, where they want somebody to be telling them something, they want to put their power into the hands of other people, they are prone to suffering, to the if you want to say the corrupt agenda of what these scientists, that's what, it gives them room to be able to manipulate people, put chips in people, or do whatever, give them funny vaccinations and dumb people down and all this kind of stuff. So this is why we're saying now we're moving into the age of Aquarius. It's air. It's about information, spiritual information, inner mental information. So we have to now raise our vibration level, raise our knowledge levels, start becoming much more aware of what's going on in our societies, in our environments, start becoming more connected with nature, and start listening to that inner voice, within. And like what Brother Galactic Clyde said, the spiritual will always and can always override that which of the physical. So we have to.
Yeah. Any interaction? Yes. Thanks, Israel, for that. Thanks, Israel. Let's see if we get anybody have any questions. Anybody any questions or statement they want to add to what what they hear. I don't know if anything is in the chat. Anything in the chat? Let's interact. Let's talk. Now is the time to talk. Ask questions. Make us work. Anybody? Auntie Jean, what says you?
This now. I can't see any questions in the chat from what was saying.
Everybody log on, but they're not talking. They need to talk, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best time to ask questions. While we could continue, there's lots we can say when you come on to the world of astrology. Astrology covers all subjects, so we talk about any subject here in connection to the stars and what is happening, because we can see it, we can understand how the flow is,
Yeah, most definitely. Because even I've been talking about the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction coming up in December. Again, we're going to be having also Jupiter is going to come back and he's going to make a conjunction with Pluto. There's also going to be another Saturn-Pluto again conjunction as well. So that's finishing off. So the last time we had the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in the early 80s, we had the AIDS, virus, AIDS, epidemic come, and then obviously then they conjunct again in January the 12th of this year, and then we have the coronavirus also as well. So we know that those two planets, when they come together, Pluto and Saturn, when they come together, we know that there's something on a big collective scale that always comes about. So we're having three big giants right now: Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, and they're coming and they're conjuncting each other, and it all in the sign of Capricorn. Yeah,
Pluto. Yeah. Message in the chat. There's a message in the chat about what we think about sidereal astrology. Sidereal astrology. I'll go to that as Israel. You could also go to it. What we think about sidereal astrology is still astrology, but we're sidereal astrology more of what we consider in astrology the fixed stars, and a lot of the data of sidereal astrology is connected to the fixed stars such as Sirius, Orion, the Great Dipper, and all of these things. That's more the sidereal count. It'd be nice to have a good interaction with the Dogon as to their connection dealing with the Deacon system, but hopefully Auntie Jean one day would have that. But I want to come to something before Israel coming on the sidereal astrology. Last night I spent some time looking at Lieutenant Stitchy, and I said, Auntie Jean, we need to kind of locate him, Lieutenant Stitchy, because Lieutenant Stitchy, a lot of his songs are very much storyline, but he's very much into his biblical understanding. But he talks a lot in his musical genre. A lot of his actually brings a lot of stories into play, and it'd be good if we could get him to actually come on to one of the Zooms and actually talk to him about bringing a story in connection to the coronavirus and New World Order and things like that, because the voice that he has is similar to Chuck D, which is very commanding voice that he has. Lieutenant City and Chuck D, they got a very powerful voice. When they speak, it's like wow, Even they say the simplest of things, it's just like wow, because their voice have a kind of very commanding power. So Auntie Jean is something that we need to research to get a connection with Lieutenant Stitchy and get him on the platform to really look at giving us something on the corona in connection to the New World Order and something like that. I was thinking, like last night I got to bed listening to a couple of his tunes there on YouTube, Lieutenant Stitchy. Go ahead, Israel.
Yeah. That would be interesting if you get hold of him.
The Stellar. They asked what they think about sidereal.
The sidereal. Now, the thing is with the sidereal is this. This thing about sidereal, about which it's just two ways of doing the same thing. It's two ways of measurement. If I take you in a room will be one size, and you measure in centimeters and I measure in millimeters, or we're going to come up with different numbers. But
Or
the,
inches, yeah.
but the size of the room is still the same, okay? But you may say, oh, it's 2 meters, and I say tell you, oh, it's 100 and something centimeters or whatever, yeah. But the size of the room don't change, okay? So that's the thing with the sidereal. Now the sidereal thing, first and foremost, that is based, or the sidereal astrology is based and measured on the precession of the equinox. The problem is like the people who argue about these things don't know much about how the astrology works. You have to get into how the astrology works. Sidereal is based on the precession of the equinox. The tropical zodiac, or which is often referred to as Western astrology, or it's primarily used in Western astrology, is based upon the seasons. It's based upon on March the 20th, when the sun moves at 0 degrees of Aries, and the planets are calculated in relation to where the sun is, based on the season. So it's based on the 4 seasons. The sidereal zodiac is not based on the seasons. And you know what is even interesting? When I went to India, and because you know, in India they say, oh, because most of the astrologers over there, they do practice Vedic astrology and they're using sidereal. And I meet a guru over there and he said, listen, them man, they're talking rubbish. He said even the major book, the #1 Bible, astrological Bible book in India, it's known as Parashara. You can Google it. I'll put it up in the chat for you guys. It's known as Parashara. That's the basis of all Indian astrology. And in the Parashara, it says it in there that you must study both sidereal and the tropical because they are both relevant. Yeah, and there's ways in how you use them pertaining to different things. So when you want to maybe use maybe like mundane astrology or certain things to do with the crops or harvest, there's a particular zodiac that you use. Yeah. So and you see the difference also between the sidereal zodiac and tropical zodiac. You see, the tropical zodiac is based on the sun. The sidereal zodiac is based on the moon. So one is lunar, one is solar. Why is that? Because in the daytime, when the sun is out, you can't see no constellations. Yeah? The sidereal zodiac is based on the constellation. You can't see no constellation in the day. You only see the sun. Yeah? So that's where you use the tropical zodiac. That's where the tropical zodiac is based on the sun's movement. But at night, when the moon is out, then you can map the moon against whatever constellation that it's in, or in referencing constellation that it's dealing with. So you see, the ancients, this is another part of astrology that's dropped off. They had 2 types of astrology. They had lunar astrology and they had solar astrology. Like Brother Clyde was saying earlier on, the masculine and the feminine. So the feminine is the moon and the masculine is the sun. So sidereal is just the feminine. It's the feminine aspect, and tropical zodiac is the masculine. So we're meant to be using both.
And the stellar as well. The stellar as well.
Stellar, yeah. And one help the other. One makes your prediction and your understanding and the cosmic guidance more sharper, more better. You understand it much more better. So it's not a case of one or the other. Try not to fall into the trap of, oh, is tropical astrology better than sidereal? Is sidereal the one? Don't get caught up into that. You see, and it's very often people who don't know how it's really working, they get caught up in that, and they don't know that you're supposed to be using both. It's very important that you use both. So sidereal astrology is very, very on point. It's very, very important to know about it and to utilize it also as well. But you have to use both, and you have to know in which context you're using both, and both will still bring you to the same place, and one actually will help enhance the other one also as well. Okay, so that's why if you go to India where they practice,
yeah, that's very good.
You know, they will still come to the same. They'll still do your chart, and you still get the same answer.
I think you cover it as well. You cover it. That's very good. That's very good. You cover it. You cover it. What I wanted to go now is government. Sorry, go ahead, Auntie Jean.
What's the name of the astrology Bible you mentioned?
Yeah, I put it in there. It's called the Parashara, but that's the for the Vedic. That's that's what they practice in India. It's known as Parashara.
Okay, thank you.
Purusha.
Parashara. It's the
Yeah,
number.
Purusha.
Yeah.
Purusha actually is a sacred. It's actually this is interesting because I didn't realize that. Yeah, it's pronounced Purusha. I pronounce it Purusha. It's called Purusha. That's interesting. I didn't realize that. That's what you're saying. It's symbolic. The icosahedron is Purusha, which is actually water, which is connected with the moon. That's interesting.
Yeah.
But where I wanted us to go as Israel is looking at Saturn in Capricorn in connection to government, because I remember back in 2017, around that time when I was talking about Saturn going into Capricorn, and I explained that government is going to face it's going to be harsh for government because Saturn rules government, and in Capricorn it means that government is reflecting on themselves, which is not a good placement for Saturn, even though it's home, it's in the first house, which is Saturn in its fall. Yeah. And so I was saying that this is going to be very harsh energy for government, and we know a lot of government are suffering. Even though they seem like they're doing well, they're suffering to deal with a lot of the issues surrounding the coronavirus. It seems like the elite is actually pounding the government now and forcing the government to operate and act based on how they want them to move. But that Saturn in Capricorn is not a really good placement for Saturn. Even though it's home, it's in the first house where Saturn in its fall. Yeah. I don't know if you want to touch a little on that in connection for people to understand why we're facing the lockdown, why we're facing governments are facing these issues in connection. Because this is a good area for people to understand what we're dealing with. Saturn in Capricorn is a recycle, because I call it a worldwide Saturn return. That's how I coined it, because we know Saturn return every 30 years, but coming back in Saturn return, it affects the whole world, because all of us will face a Saturn return.
Yeah, most definitely. And you know, because Saturn in Capricorn, you know, he's very strong there. He's in his own sign, because that whole Saturn representing the government, and even Capricorn as well, the earth sign, the tradition, the people, the sense of authority, where we need to be responsible for our actions, you know. So for Saturn or Capricorn, you know, that is like the physical embodiment of the government. So when Saturn comes into Capricorn, it's what Saturn is like saying for the hierarchy, for those people who are in positions of hierarchy and government and establishment. Saturn is saying, okay, it's all right, you're giving the people orders of what to do and what not to do. But what are you doing? What are you doing with your power? What are you doing with your structure? How are you coping with, you know, with your own kind of responsibility? You know, so we saw, like, so for example, a few months ago, you saw the thing there with Dominic Cummings, where he's telling people, they're saying, oh, everybody should stay in. And then you come out of your yard and you know what I mean, the same rule you set for the people, you don't follow it. So everybody, you know, they pick up on him and say, yo, what you doing? And from then nobody don't listen to them no more. Because they say, well, if you're gonna break the law, we're all gonna break the law as well. We'll come out as well, because it's all right for you to come out and then you cook up some lie and say, oh yeah, you come out because you're testing your eyesight and all them kind of nonsense there. You see, so Saturn was pulling up all of the governments right now, from Donald Trump to Boris Johnson to all governments all around the world, and he's saying, what are you doing with the structure? How are you laying the foundations down for society, for the people in your society, so that they can build on something structural, something responsible that can you know, get them prepared, you know, for that next level. So they're all also having a tough time. So even with the whole coronavirus, you know, they're like a dog chasing its tail. They don't know what's going on, or do this 1 minute, go in 1 minute, come out next minute. You know, they don't know what's going on. They're confused. You see, everything locked down, you know, money locked down. Now they want people to come back to work. Now they're saying that they want people to come back to work, and people are saying, no, we don't want to go back to work. You know, we want to stay inside. We want to stay inside. Yeah, you see. So all of this is now is the Saturn in Capricorn that is putting pressure and forcing the government people to start becoming, Saturn is the planet of karma. So he's making them now aware of their actions, of their karmic actions that they've done in the past, and forcing them to realize that you can't keep doing the same corruptive things that you've been doing for all these years, and and expect the people to just just keep following what you're doing and expect society to thrive or grow if you're doing that. So they're also being put on the spot as well, just as much as people are. Although, yes, the most of the time, it's the common people who are going to pick up the pieces. It's going to land on them. But they are also in very, very tough and in difficult positions also as well. And Saturn is making them to become more responsible for their actions.
Accountability.
Yes, yeah.
Very important. Okay, you know what? Back in the 90s, I came across the movie They Live. And it was interesting because I was talking to somebody the other day about They Live. In They Live, where people were changing form, the first form that you see is the mouth section start to become the skeleton type. If people go back to the movie They Live, and that time when the movie came out, I didn't start at astrology. I was just getting into realize the connection and how important astrology was. Because in the movie They Live, they were talking about the Great Conjunction. The Great Conjunction is really the end of the age. And that's what they were discussing in the movie They Live. Everybody, I recommend that you all go and see They Live if you've never seen the movie. The interesting thing, we know that nobody's really talking about the 26,000-year cycle. Nobody in government, nobody in the scientific community, really. You can find something online on it, but not much saying about, well, we've come to the end of the 26,000-year cycle and what the new cycle is going to be. The closest we get to that is that they talk about the New World Order, which is, we know is the New World Disorder that they're forcing on us. But it'd be interesting to see if anybody on the chat would even explain or say if they've heard about the 26,000 years or in connection to the movie They Live or anything at all concerning the big cycle that we're coming to an end of. If anybody have any take on this or any information, because nobody's really talking about it. It's very few of us in the astrology world actually talking about the 26,000-year cycle, which means if we come to a great end of a cycle, it's a very powerful, because it means it's like, like how they say in Nigeria, when somebody falls, they say they don't want to kill a cow. Because if a big man falls, it's in Israel.
Yes, you're right, yes.
If a big man falls, they know they got to kill a cow.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
It's got to be a big feast. And so I think that's what we experience with the end of the age. It's a big feast.
Yeah, definitely.
Because something big is going down.
Definitely, big time. And this is also where all the idea of the population control and population countdown, you see, because apart from certain places like in Africa and some parts of Asia also as well, the human population is declining. You see, it's declining, and whether it's declining through nature or it's declining through certain people having certain agendas and wanting to wipe out certain people on the globe, or people are being wiped out through wars, the population is actually declining right now. Europe, large parts of Europe are actually below 0% in terms of population growth. So nobody's not, so the population is actually declining, actually. You understand? The population where they're saying, oh, there's been a population boom, is that's a backdated one. That's the one from like the 70s, from the 80s, the 90s, where there was a bit of a baby boom kind of situation that went on through there. That's the one where the population, those are the ones that are still alive, that are thriving. So those of us who are in like 30s, 40s, 50s, we're the ones that are still thriving. But in terms of like the youngsters, there's not enough youngsters being born on the same level as it was for us who were born in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and so on and so forth. So the population is declining now. So this is
I'm laughing at that because Israel, I'm thinking about McDonald's and the symbol of the death card, which is the big M, the death card in the Torah card. And I'm like, why don't they just start eating pounded yam? You know what I mean? Because
yeah, exactly. You know, so all this kind of thing, you know, there's a rise in terms of infertility and stuff and all these kind of stuff, a lot of all these diseases and all this. So this is also a sign, a huge sign also as well of an ending of an age. Because when there's an ending of an age, it's almost like it's like a cleansing. It's like a cosmic cleansing. So sometimes the universe has to say, okay, we have to just slow down the amount of souls that are coming in for the meantime, and we just got to do a little bit of cleaning up and reset, and then we start back again. So a lot of the things that we're witnessing even now in terms of what's going on, Corona and all this, you know, that these are all just parts of a larger, like Brother Kalati Clyde is saying, of that 26,000 year cycle, of the great year cycle. That's all part of it. So, you know, there's a cleansing, there's sort of like a purification kind of period. There's a purging period. There's a refining period. So that refining is now stopping. So this is that's why in Africa, you know, with this whole gay thing that's coming, that's why there's certain, you know, the tribes in Africa, there's certain priests and babalaos are coming in and saying, no, you know, the gay thing, at first they're saying, oh, the gay thing is wrong. And they say, no, it's not. That the gay part, certain parts of the people in the gay community, they are the gatekeepers, because you see, they chose to come in on a soul level, because you see, the gay population is not interested in reproducing. So they're coming on a certain level. So they come in to guard the gate, to say that no more people come in. So the population of gays, anytime there's an end of an age, they always say, the ancients say that there's a rise in the gay community. The gay population always rise when there's an end of an age. You understand why?
You come back to what I was saying about the masquerades at December in my country. You're back at it, man dressed up as woman and everything is like
exactly.
shifting. It's interesting. It's interesting because we can pack a lot in that, because when you look at Saturn, because we know Saturn is not actually back in Aquarius yet. He's actually just went to the library. He went to the library for information and knocked on.
Exactly.
And then come back. But when Saturn goes in Aquarius, I said this is going to bring up a lot of issues surrounding the gay and lesbian, because it's also somewhat connected with Aquarius. And then Saturn in Aquarius will bring that restriction, especially because a lot of the information concerning the gay and lesbian is kind of gone out of whack in terms of what they want to teach the children in school. Yes. And then you're dealing with Uranus in Taurus, is about values. Well, where was our value system going? So it's going to be a lot going on for next year, as we can see by the climate that's set up when Saturn just went there just to open the door of Aquarius and say, close it back. Let me go back in Capricorn for a minute.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. But the thing that with the gays, that with the African spirituality, is showing that no, the gays, they're not bad people. It's not that they're unholy, because again, a lot of us, we were looking at the gay society, we were looking at it through the eyes of the quote unquote organized religion, through the Christian belief. We never see that, we never, but when we tap into certain higher dimensions, they say, no, they're acting out purposely. The universe send them in to guard the gates, you see. So that, because if there's more gay population, then the population is going to decrease. So we need the population to decrease in order to make that purge, and then we can start moving forward. You see.
Can I
some other aspects?
contribute?
Yeah, go ahead, contribute. Yeah. Go ahead, let me hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so first of all, big up Auntie Jean.
Yeah.
Yeah, Galactic Clyde, Brother Israel. Yeah, it's been good. So yeah, so what I think we should analyze is what we should be, what is our response to what is happening. So basically, the system has its own intentions. Africa is the one continent that the population is actually growing at an exponential rate. They have tried everything they can to bring Africa under control, population control. That is their main intention. When David Attenborough was talking about it a few years ago, obviously we know Bill Gates has been talking about it a few years ago about reducing the population. But when they talk about reducing the population, they're focusing on Africa, because they already know that the Europeans are already depleting. They already know that their time is going down. And there's an article just released, I think today, or last couple of days in Sky News, talking about they expect Nigeria to be a superpower by the end of this century. And the population of Nigeria, Congo, South Sudan, they're all going to get very, very big. So China's going to go down. So the intentions of the people, like, I see what Brother Israel is saying in terms of the governments shifting around. But whilst there's this pandemic, as Galactic Clyde put it, whilst this pandemic is going on, we are heading very rapidly into a technocratic society. So 2,000 of the richest billionaires in US in just the lockdown period alone, I'm talking about a month ago, made $530 billion. The Amazon is becoming a superpower. These entities are now, they're becoming more powerful than nations. So we look at United States, we look at China, and we focus on these nation states. They're just they're like on the chessboard, they're like the knights in the castles on the chessboard. The kings are these multinational corporations owned by the families above them. Those are the ones that we should be operating, and they're the ones using these nation states as chess pieces on the board. So United States is meant to go down. Donald Trump is meant to sink United States. That is what he's meant to be there for. China is meant to do what it's supposed to do. These elites, as Galactic Clyde was saying, in terms of the what's it called, the new disorder, the new world disorder, that's very true, but they are driving forward towards it. So the real question is, how can we use the astrological knowledge that you both have to better strengthen ourselves so that we can have a response to their plans?
Well, okay, let me come in there. You see, I'll tell you, you see what it is? You know what you need to do? I'll tell you, you see what you just mentioned there, and those people that you mentioned, and those people in certain powers that are doing certain things that you mentioned, that is where the problem is. The fact that you mentioned them, that's the problem. You need to stop mentioning them. And we need to stop giving them power. Because nobody can be in a position of power unless you allow them to. I don't care who there is. I don't care how they get it. People are the ones that support people or make things happen. We, the people, are the ones that make things happen, individually or collectively. So what we need to stop doing is stop giving those people power. I don't care who they are, Illuminati, unless they're living in, unless you live with them, or you sleep with them, or you're connected with them directly. If you know who these people are, I'm talking face to face, it's somebody you could get on the phone to and call, then that means that it's out of your reach. Anything that's out of your reach is essentially, it's not for you. We've all,
what I'd say to that, what I'd say to that is Galactic Clyde talked about They Live. That's a brilliant film. When you put on the glasses, you see. So they live amongst us. This lockdown, I've been very against this lockdown. I think this lockdown is the worst thing to do. Their advice on health, if anybody knows about the basics in health, it's the worst advice I've ever heard in my entire life.
Very bad, very bad. Yeah.
They've taught people to be scared of other humans. They've been teaching people to be scared of oxygen. They've been telling people who can't self-diagnose to rely on their own diagnosis. Then when people go into hospitals, they blow out their lungs with ventilators and induce them into coma. Stella made a good point the other day, talking about, you know how like the police brutality, there's bad cops, right?
Yeah.
Let's just apply that to the medical industry. There could literally be doctors that are on this genocide thing, just like a police officer. So we're finding that our people are going into the hospitals and getting murdered up in there, but we're not seeing it as that. Because we're calling it this COVID thing, which is basically the equivalent of a flu or common cold. It's no
Let me
different.
come in there. Let me come in there. I had a document by Gary Knoll that I put up on Facebook. Facebook take me down, blocked me out, called Deadly Deception. I recommend that everybody watch that, because he goes into the elite, which is the pharmaceutical company. They're the elite in the medical, and they're the ones who actually messing up the whole program. Actually, they're moving everything on to where the doctor's not needed anymore, because now they're doing virtual surgery and all of this stuff. And so this is where the whole medical nausea comes in. because they're creating a whole different way of dealing with intrusion on our health. And so this is the time that this is the best time for us to fight the system, in that sense, fight the power that be. This is the best time for us to set up systems. Let's talk about this. When we talk about the elites, we're talking about systematic people on the hierarchy that are set up in system, while their program must to be individual, to operate on the individual level, while they're operating systematically. The way you ask a question, the way to deal with them is operate on a systematic level, to be globalized, to be organized, to work together with groups from different sectors of the world and interconnection to build something and to make something great, as opposed to just individual. Just like you see, when look, me and Israel are doing the interactive astrology in order to really get you all to see different versions of astrology or different areas of astrology to get you into the meat and potatoes of astrology. Because most people only think about the personal reading. They don't understand how astrology flow on a global level and cover every aspects of our life. So in the interaction, we can see where the story, the mythology, the religion, all of this falls into astrology. The money, the science, all of this is astrology. So having the interaction, people get to see, yeah, astrology is something to look at. Because before, people just think about it as a tabloid stuff. But with this pandemic, we can talk about the age, we can talk about the great cycles, we can talk about the mini cycles, we can talk about the flow of all of this stuff. But the most important thing is for us to also look at systems, because big companies, when they go down, they're married to other companies and survive. But we as little people, in the sense where I say little, we as individuals are not thinking about how we intermarry in terms of working together and organize ourselves so that we can be a force to be reckoned. And something that we have to think about building for eternity. That's what our ancestors talk about. Not build for tomorrow, not organize for just one day, but organize for all eternity. And this is what we have to start thinking about. What we're setting up that's going to predate us, going to pre-live us in that sense. We have to talk about systematic approach to money, to health, to nutrition, to government, to how we set up. Because and a lot of this information of how to do this are still within the secret aspects of our cultural organizations in Africa. There's lots of cultural groups in Africa that have a lot of information, such as, you know, they talk about Ubuntu, all of that philosophy, the Ubuntu philosophy, the teaching of Ma'at, a lot of secret things that's going on in Africa that are part of the cultural dynamic that have not even reached over to us, you know, because we don't understand a lot of these concepts, and we got to get back into the ancient ways, setting up the Muna or community organization that would pre-live us or predate us in terms of time and history. And until we start doing that, passing down, getting information, having the library where Aquarius represent, having the information to pass down to the generation, you know, that's the only way we can survive what is going on the level of the elites, because that's what they're doing. You know what I mean? And they learn that from where? They learn that from us, because we build system. The Greek take a whole long time before they could come into chemistry. It said they were like children. We can't initiate them. Nothing. They knew who we were in that sense. But we got to get back to that understanding. And there's certain organizations that still survive today. I mean, I think the brother that Auntie Jean have on Montana talk about certain cultural group in Ghana that's still been continuing, never been enslaved in that sense. And they have certain knowledge that we can tap into and utilize for our survival. But we got to get into a systematic approach to how we operate and live today.
Big facts. What group is that called?
Which group?
The group that,
Chief Montana was talking about I think you have that information, but he talked about slavery in Ghana that survived and had to treaty with the
British,
with the European. They had to survive to treaty. But look at the Maroons. The Maroons, they survive as well with certain things still intact, and they had the treaty as well. And they have certain herbs. Where we think we're learning a lot of the herbs, you know, right now Russian book, which is the basic herb, that book is going for like 100 and something pounds or 200 and something pounds, and he talks about basic herbs that they use in the maroon towns in Jamaica. But it's so much important information for us. And this is why we're setting up the Garvey Village, because the Garvey Village would be a resource, or is coming to be a resource institution, so that people generations down the line can say, this is where I can find this, this is where I can find that. But we have to set up systems, and that's what it's all about, because Aquarian Age is about systems. It's about library, museums, systems, so that we can grasp information down the generation.
Yes, most definitely. But just also carrying on to what the brother was saying there about, you know, again, be very careful not to give, I don't care who you want to say is ruling all these elite looming power, leave them to it. I don't care who and what these people are. They still have to operate under the universal laws. Everybody's working right. So stop giving these people too much power, okay? So, because when you focus your energy on them, or what they're doing and what they're not doing or whatever, you waste your time. Now, the brother was saying earlier on about, oh, the lockdown. Yeah, fair enough. I agree with you. A lot of the information that they were giving people was in terms of like the health and safety stuff, or what to take and what to do. Yes, it's stuff that we can say it's not fit for human consumption or for human use. However, the lockdown itself is the greatest blessing that people could have had. But it's how you use it, what you do. What were most people doing? Probably watching Netflix, playing around. Listen, you could have learned something. You could have learned a new language. You could have learned a new style. You could have gone and you could have learned how to meditate. You could have learned how to...
Can I stop you for a minute, Israel? Let's stop you for a minute, because the lockdown also happened with the North Node in Cancer, so you could touch that in connection. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm saying is like, we could have used that to go internal. That was a chance. So when we're talking about the planets, the brother was asking us, well, what are the planets or what can astrology do? Astrology is showing you that. It's pointing towards Saturn, is telling you, lock down, go inside, be disciplined, be patient. These are all Saturnian things. And look inward and build your own system and infrastructure. Because like Brother Clyde was saying, all these, I don't care what you want to say, who these ruling, you see all those people that you want to say they are elitists, the ruling class, pharmaceutical company, all of that knowledge that they're using, although they may be using it inappropriately, you have that same knowledge inside of you. We all do. So there's no point saying, oh, well, such and such is doing. No, it's got nothing to do with you. That's not your karma, and that's not your part. I can't eat something and you shit it out tomorrow. It can't happen. I am responsible for my own doing. You are responsible. We create our own reality. You understand? So we are responsible for our own reality. So that lockdown, we're supposed to use that in a constructive way to look inward, look at our strengths, look at our weaknesses, look at our talents, looking at our, whether you want to look at it from a health perspective, physical, all of those answers that's what we need to be working on. But we're too busy, we're getting caught up, things doing that, and Trump's doing that, and the elites doing that, and the Illuminati's doing that. What's that going to be doing? People been talking all this Illuminati stuff now, 20 years, 50 years. Okay, now what? So now you know what the Illuminati is, and so what? So what are you gonna do? That's the question now. What are you gonna do? We have to go within, and we've got to stop looking for somebody to blame or to project on. Fair enough, they are doing what they're doing. I'm not saying that what they're doing is right or thing. Yes, it's counterproductive or whatever. They have their agenda. Of course they have their agenda. Everybody has an agenda, of course. There's nothing wrong with having an agenda. The question is your agenda something that is spiritual? It's something that's going to benefit not just yourself in a spiritual way, but is it something that's going to benefit society and humanity on a whole? That's the question. What kind of agenda do you have? Everybody has an agenda. No, nothing wrong with that. But fair enough, they have their agenda, and the agenda, yeah, we can say, well, that part of the agenda is corrupt, or you want to use people, or you want to abuse people. Yeah, but I'm not getting caught up in that, because the people are going to be doing that. People have been saying, and there's been no change. That's what I say. That's why I removed myself from certain community, because I don't see no change. Every minute, yeah, Illuminati this, Illuminati that. That's it. You give away the power. Like Bobby Hemmings, these people, you don't even know them. You can't call them on the phone and you can't speak to them. Fair enough, you may say they're living amongst us.
Yeah.
But they're not living amongst us. They're not living amongst us. They can't be living amongst us.
Can I come in for a minute? Can I come? Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me come in for a minute there, Israel. Thank you. That's a very, very good analogy. It takes me back to the what they talk about African, the village altar. You know, and this is very important for us here living in the West, within the village, that everybody takes whatever they take there. If somebody wants to take a goat and tie it on the altar and leave it there to die, that's their thing. Whatever the spirit or whatever lead them to do that, nobody should question that. If somebody wants to take an old socks and put it on the altar, you know, that's their thing. That's what they're led to do. Right. Whatever you want to take on the altar, nobody. And so that's why you're saying you don't need to question what goes on the altar, because everybody have to know the life that they come here to live. They need to know what it is and how they need to live it, and not really looking at how other people are operating. It's really, what are you doing in the scheme of things in that sense? What you need to do. Because if we concentrate more on what we need to do as opposed to what other people are doing, we're in a better.
Exactly.
So I like that. Yeah.
Exactly. It's very, very important, because we can get lost in all of this information and stuff and all that. Yeah, we know the information is out there, and we know that there's the ruling power and they're doing their corrupt business and they've got their corrupt agenda. Yeah, we know that. So now you know that. Now what? What is your response to it? So if you focus on, if you build, because like we say, we're creating our own reality. We have all of those inner powers inside of us. So why not focus on developing, empowering yourself and bettering yourself and bettering, so that goes on to better our children, our community, our people, and the world at large. And focus more on that. Focus on working from the inside out rather from the outside in. And trying to change people on the outside, because you can't change people on the outside. You can protest all you want. You can do a thing all you want. That's not going to change the people. You know what I'm trying to say? It's like, you know, they say, oh, how you live? You live through example. You live it. You be the thing that that become the thing that you aspire to be. You know, live it. All of this information and powers and spiritual knowledge, that live it, be it, embody, an embody for it, be an ambassador for it, be a vehicle for it. And then you shine your light, you radiate it outwards, and then people will see, and that's when people you can start changing your environment and the people around you, and so on and so forth. You see, but other than that, just by saying, "Oh, they're doing it," don't mean nothing. Nothing gonna change. That's not gonna change nothing. By pointing the finger, saying, "Oh, such and such Illuminati or whatever," they've been exposed 10 times over. They're still doing what they're doing. They're being exposed in movies, YouTube. I think they've been exposed 1,000,000 times over. People writing books, a conspiracy discourse. It's been taught 1,000,000 times over. So what? Nothing happened. They're still lucky. They can still lock you down. They can still censor you. They can still take you off the airways if they choose to. They can still take you out. So why focus on them? There's no point focusing on them. We have to focus on us, and we have to run. What is our purpose here? Every individual on this planet has a purpose, has a destiny, and we have something. We are something. We're growing. We're becoming something. We're growing into something. We're supposed to be aspiring into something and developing into something, and not taking our eyes off the prize. As Bruce Lee said to the man, "Don't take your eye off the prize." You take your eye off the prize, you start looking elsewhere. You get distracted. Keep your eye. Keep focus. What is your goals? What are your achievements? How can we be better people as individuals? And it will grow. It will automatically grow. So don't get nothing. They can't do you nothing. They can only do something if you allow them to.
Yeah. Brother Israel, our first real astrology talk together was around 2007, around the 7/7 bombing, 7/7 in London.
No, 2005.
It was 2005. Yeah, 2005. Sorry, that was number 7. 5. 2005. 2005 7/7 bombing.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because that was around the time of the blue moon in Cancer, and we're back in the blue moon again. And now we're doing the interactive connection. So this is like this is deep, because that was the first time we get to know each other. I didn't know you then, but we were speaking for the first time at Sister Rosanna's place, bookshop, at the Moata bookshop. And we had that interactive in connection to numerology, astrology, and dealing with 7/7 and the new moon in the blue moon in Cancer. Interesting time how the cycle comes back around.
Definitely. But we've got to really start using these planetary alignments, like the brother was asking, and start using it, because you see, remember, you know, as the Africans say, when the sun shines, it doesn't shine for one person, you know, it shines for everybody. So it's how you use it. What are you using when the sun shines? How are you using that sunshine? Somebody's using that sunshine to grow crops. Somebody's using that same sunshine to dry their clothes. Somebody's using that same sunshine to power electricity, solar panel. Somebody else is using that same solar energy to dry something, to dry some herbs, to make food. You know, everybody's using the sun. It's the same sun, same energy.
Back home when I was younger, they used to call pork, you know, put a whole heap of salt on the pork and put it on the house roof, and that's the sun to keep it from I remember that time, crucial, you know. You know, now we don't mess with pork, but that time put a whole heap of salt from the flies and leave it there to dry. That's the sweetest meat. I tell you.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. No, you're right. But, you know, it's about using that solar energy, using that cosmic energy to the best way that we can to empower ourselves. People are going to always use the cosmic energy in a corrupt way. You can't stop that. People will be corrupt. People are greedy, insecurity, hatred, racism, all this kind of. They will use this energy in their way, in a destructive way. But try not to. We can observe it. We can see it happening. But we must stay focused on what it is that we're doing. It's very, very important, because there's a lot of sidetracking. You know, a lot of us are getting sidetracked with this information and what this person's saying and what they're doing over there, and it's not helping. By the time you realize you're running around, you could have learned how to astral travel, man. You could have learned to shift dimension.
There's an ancient saying. There's an ancient saying, I think it's in the Kabbalion, to use laws above laws, the higher laws above the law. Because most of the things that we get caught up in is the lower nature of man that is actually plaguing humanity. But there's the higher nature that we need to focus on, the higher nature of man, to override the lower nature that we caught up in, the everyday lifestyle and the lower, you know, his clothes better than mine, his cars better than mine, blah, 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 the hatred, the jealousy and all that. We need to rise above that and use the higher laws to realize that we all have a reason to be here. And James Brown. So we're in the big payback, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely.
We gotta claim what's ours and just really, you know, focus on the higher laws over the lower laws.
Most definitely.
Yeah,
and
because I'm saying, go ahead.
You know, what is ours is there. The universe is there at all times. We just need to just tap into it. It's there. It's there. You know, it's like even they say, you know, who God bless, no man can curse. You see, there's a say. You see, there's a lot of truth to that saying. You see, the universe bless us all. You know, no man can't take away your blessing. No man can't take away your right. The only way it may seem a person can do that is if you put yourself in a position for that to happen. You see, it's like Morpheus tell Neo in the Matrix when he was teaching him how to download and all this kind of stuff. So Neo said to Morpheus, "Oh, so what are you trying to tell me? I can dodge bullets?" And Morpheus turned around and said to him, he said, "No, I'm trying to tell you that when the time comes and you get your mind ready, you won't need to dodge bullet. So he's trying to tell him, say, like, he's still thinking on the level of dodging bullet. Morpheus is trying to show him, say, no, it's higher than that. You understand?
Yeah.
I'm trying to show you something like, you don't need to dodge bullet. You're going to be in a place where you don't need to dodge no bullet because your consciousness is in a right space where you don't need to be dodging no bullet. Dodging bullet that's on the lower level, so you don't need to worry about that. You see? So we got to get our mindset in a particular way where we're, again, like we're talking about this Aquarius thing and the spirituality and the higher knowledge, and that's what we got to need to move into that. We got to accelerate into a higher consciousness, a higher way of thinking, a higher way of being, thinking outside of the box. Yeah, of course, when we hear the government are saying certain things, think first. When they say certain things, put on your thinking cap. Anything, question everything. When somebody says something, question it. You understand? You don't necessarily have to challenge it, but question it. Okay, why are you saying that? Does that make sense to you? Okay, it doesn't make sense. Okay, what does make sense to you? You understand? And going back to nature and you know, connecting back with nature. These are the kind of things that we need to start asking ourselves and start, you know, the approaches that we need to start taking. You see, and don't get sidetracked. There's a lot of information out there, but a lot of it can also sidetrack also as well. There's more misinformation out there than there is actually appropriate or correct information, if you want to say. So we have to be very careful of keeping how we have our mindset on a particular way that we've got to go inside. The answers to what that we need are all inside. They are all, everything is inside. All the answers are inside. Just go within.
What comes, sorry, Israel, let me stop you for a minute there. What comes to mind is going back to biblical teaching, where, you know, in the scriptures, they talk about once a year that the children of Israel used to come around to the holies of holies, to the sanctuary, yes. And once a year the name of God is mentioned. I don't know if you remember that scripture.
Yes. Yeah.
Once a year the name of God has been mentioned, but when it's mentioned, nobody gets to hear it because there's a whole lot of confusion to stop the public from hearing it.
Yes.
And I want people to understand that as a concept, because once a year something important is mentioned, the name of God. But because the name of God is so powerful, there's a whole heap of confusion, so people don't get to hear it. It's in the scriptures for those who they don't know that it's there in the Bible. But when that happens, everybody shout and stampede, and nobody gets to really hear the name of God mentioned for one reason, because there's so much information that are coming out now to raise our vibration to higher level, but there's so much confusion at the same time.
Exactly. So it's and that's the mythology of the Tower of Babel.
Yes.
That's the mythology being played out there again. So the Tower of Babel is being played out. So many different languages. The symbolic meaning behind the people speaking the different languages is the confusion, the different opinions, the different concepts, and the confusion out there. So the Tower of Babel it's alive and well. It's active right now. You see. So the only way we can find that true answer is going inside, listening to that inner voice. We need to learn how to connect with that inner voice. All the technology we need, all of the inspiration it's all there. It's inside. We just need to know how to connect. Start meditating. Start eating well. Start looking at your lifestyle, behavior. What's happening? What's your progress in the last year? You know, what's your progress? And again, like we're speaking about planetary cycles. Every day we're supposed to be looking at our life. I'm supposed to learn something today. I'm supposed to do something today that I didn't have yesterday. If not, you waste your day. If it's supposed to be something, I don't care even if it's one thing. I don't care if it's a new word. At least maybe you learn how to say thank you in Yoruba or Igbo language or whatever. Learn something. Learn a word. Learn a thing. Whether it's on the computer, learn about a plant. Learn about a herb. Every day we're supposed to be learning something. So if we're learning something every day, that means we're learning something every week. That means every month we're learning something. something. That means every year we're learning something. These are all cycle. So that's why we talk about lunar return, solar return. We speak about the nodes. We speak about eclipses. The eclipses work on a 19-year cycle. Every 19 years, we get the same eclipse in the same sign at the same degree. We're speaking about Jupiter cycle every 12 years. The Saturn cycle every 29 years. You see, so when we're speaking about Jupiter-Saturn conjunction every 20 years. So we're meant to be learning. There's a purpose behind these cycles. We're supposed to be doing something. We're supposed to be, we're not supposed to be on just the same way, just like life. We went to nursery school. There was a time in our life we went to nursery school. We move. We go to primary school. Then we go to secondary. Then we go college, university. Then we start moving. So there's meant to be some kind of, in astrology, we have what's known as a progress chart. They say, oh, where's your progress sun? Where's your progress moon? Because what's the progress? Because that's meant to show you how far you've progressed. Where have you progressed through? So the progress chart is meant to show you where it is that how far you have progressed. How far have you come along? What stage are you at now? You see, so we're meant to be going through this progress. It's very, very important for our evolution. Every day we're meant to be learning something. You learn something every day.
Thank you, Brother Israel. I think we cover a lot. Yeah, thank you. I think we cover a lot. Everybody's going quiet on us. And, it's not as interactive.
Auntie is not saying anything.
I think they're watching the clock. They're watching the clock, but they don't realize that we were going for 2 hours at the time when we speak, not this half hour on the Zoom. Yeah, Auntie Jean, what do you want to say? You want to wrap it up? What do you want to do? You're smiling.
I said we're right. We do need to learn something new every day, and that is something to put in mind. Even if we forget, but sometimes we do learn something without even realizing that we're learning something.
Yes.
That we're trying and we're doing.
Yeah.
But we don't really pick it up as learning something, but we have to really, catalog it. This is something new.
I for one, because I look at different systems within the astrology. I look at the tarot cards. I look at the playing cards. I look at the Mayan. I look at the astrology from different things. On the numerology, I look at where my cycles are, so I can say, am I in line? Am I out of line? Am I in reach? Out of reach? It's so important, and it's not about the money, it's about the importance, because some people never do the chart, never even know what numbers they're on, what cycle they are. You could be in a number 9 cycle, which is an ending cycle, and you wonder why you're losing friends. You're like, wow, everybody's running away from me. I'm at the end of the cycle, but it's good to know your cycle, so you could say, wow, that's what that represents, that's what this represents. It's so important. So that's the sales tip right there to show you, get your chart done, get a reading, get an understanding, get an analysis. Because the most important thing, the most important person to study your chart is yourself.
Yeah.
We only can show you, we can give you some advice and say this is what that is, but you need to take it the initiative because you're with yourself every day. Yeah. And when you grasp that, you'll be like, wow, I'm always updating, always looking at what's going on. I know where my moon is for the next couple of years to come. I know where my moon cycle is. I'm born with one moon cycle, but it's different place now. I'm born with my sun one place, is not the same place now. You're born at 0 degrees 0, a 1 year old, you move 2, you move 3. Those are movements of the sun. And each one of those years are very different. They have different astrological connections. So it's important to have a read and have an understanding of what's going on within your chart. So you can go deeper understanding yourself and know why you're doing the way you did, what energy, what planetary flows, what's happening in your life. Very important. I'll leave everybody with that.
Just to cut you there, Sister Nkechi's got a hand up. You'd like to have a question?
Yes, please.
Oh.
Nkechi, yeah, go ahead.
I must admit, I did have a little snooze in between, but because I just finished one meeting, joined this one, and then had a little snooze, woke up all excited hearing what I was hearing. But you brothers, I love to hear what you've got to say because I just resonate with it so much through the work I do as well. I just wanted to ask you, Galactic Clyde, and probably Israel too, I'd just love to hear your take on this as well. My understanding is that although we have cycles and things as highlighted and illustrated by astrology, in our lives, would you agree, or would you say that actually by knowing about those cycles, we can then also rise above them? Because my understanding through the work I do is that although, like for example, I'm a Virgo, and then I think I've got many moons and different things in Virgo as well, and there's a whole chart that goes with all of that for me personally. But I also feel that it's possible for me to just rise above all these cycles through getting to know my purpose, and also clearing blockages, which is what I do a lot of, and so on and so forth. And then that's a kind of quick question, if you can answer, but also
let me answer that. Let me answer. Okay, go ahead. Next one. Go ahead. Let me start on that. You could go to the next one. You know, for the past couple of weeks, I'm with this guy he's a driver. He's actually drive trucks and do driving for a living. But the man don't know the road. He rely on the sat nav. What with me now? He's living this country longer than me, and I'm directing him. And I'm not, you know, I don't even have a driver's license in this country. Anyway, what's the difference between that? Because when I go around the road, I look at the tall building, I mark a spot, and I mark that I'm operating like a sat nav, you know? And that's the same thing you do when you understand your chart. You're marking and you're looking at what the influence is. So you know that, okay, this is A, this is B, this is that tall building, I just passed it. So I could go back past it when I'm going back. I mark the territory. If you don't mark your territory, your sat nav will take you to the river and leave you there, tell you got to cross with your car. You know what I mean? So it's about astrology help you to mark your territory. You understand? And that's the difference between somebody who knows the area and somebody who don't know the area, because they mark certain area, or there's a church there, pass it. So you look and you start studying your environment. Your astrological environment is very important. Or you have Mars there, you have Jupiter here, you have this retrograde coming up, or you're locked into the, you know, somebody who have the birthday fall on the Jupiter retrograde or Mercury retrograde would have an issue for the whole year because it's anchored in the chart. So if you mark your territory, you understand what placement you are, what's happening for you. You know, some people are having Saturn return, Jupiter return. You know, I remember this lady, I tell her, listen, you're in your Saturn return. Try not to have no children around the cycle of your Saturn return, because you're anchored a heavy cycle within your life. And that would live on with you, and you would deal with that child, and you and that child might have some issues because that child is born on your Saturn return. And so these are things that we need to know, because we're anchoring certain cycles in doing certain things and we don't know. You understand? So it's important to know our territory and to mark the spots. Because when we do that, then we're able to, it's like we're navigating. Somebody who never been in this country, or let's say for a place like Zimbabwe where I went there, you know, and seeing those big, I shouldn't say this is, but they have certain snakes there. You need to know about the snakes. You know, I remember when I take my friends in the woods, we take them in the woods, and then afterwards I take them to the snake museum. And when they see the snake, they say, really, we were in the woods? You know, and those snakes could be in the woods. They say, yes, but if I took them to the snake museum, they wouldn't go in the woods. So take them to the woods first, and then I take them to the snake museum, you know? You know, but it's about knowing the territory, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yes, yeah. I understand that. I understand that, but I'm just wondering, for example, after your talk that you did a few weeks ago, and I think Brother Israel and I think Brother Simon was all there together speaking about astrology, and you were talking a lot about, I think we were just going into a Mercury retrograde at that time.
Yeah.
Now, not being an astrologist, but doing spiritual work, I didn't really know a lot about it, but I began to notice what that talk made me realize. I began to notice that actually there were things that not just myself, but other people were trying to do, and it's as if they were being frustrated in that things weren't going as fast as they want them to go. Things were kind of, it's as if one step forward, 2 steps back, that kind of vibration was happening. I even saw a little bit of that going on. But then I remembered the talk that you did about the Mercury retrograde, and I thought, oh, even though I don't follow this too tightly, I can see that something like this seems to be happening, not just to me, to other people. So what I then did is then thought, okay, be that as it may, now that I've acknowledged it, it felt as if, as you say, times are changing and everything's supposed to be coming together. and we're supposed to be growing and growing in knowledge. And even myself, I see that that's happening with me. And it felt like for the first time I was supposed to really acknowledge the astrology, which I've not spent too much time doing properly, if you know what I mean. I've done it a bit, but not properly. But it's as if once I acknowledged that it was Mercury retrograde and then refocused my mind on the things I needed to do, and just allowed myself to just relax and be patient with the things that seemed to be slow, it seemed to kind of release that Mercury retrograde energy, and things started to flow, in fact, not just more smoothly, but on a better level than they were before. So I found that very, very interesting. And I don't know if you can explain that, you know, through the astrology, but I just felt as if the astrology and acknowledging, you know, it helped me to then link it to my way of, as I suppose, working, and then allow things to flow again.
Go ahead, Israel. You handle that. You're going to that.
No, most certainly. That, and in regards to what you were saying about your chart, essentially it's about, you know, everyone's chart will somewhat, obviously, the chart is showing us, if you want to say the real you on a soul level. It's telling us the skeleton structure. It's showing us the skeleton structure of what it is you've come to this world to come and be. So it's about bettering that, you know, utilizing that, taking that energy in your chart and utilizing that to the best of your ability based on where the planets were located at the time of your birth, and just, you know, making it more higher, more spiritual, more developed, more enhanced. And it's about enhancing your chart. Your chart has no limits in terms of its enhancements. It keeps on going on, and, you know, and going on. And what you were saying there in terms of like leaving, like with the Mercury retrograde, of course, like what you were saying, like you were noticing like certain things, you know, and that's, you know, that's what you see. But because the whole point of the Mercury retrograde essentially is, it's a time where you're supposed to be step back a bit. You see, the problem is, and especially with us here in the West, is everybody's on send, nobody's on receive. That's the problem. So Mercury retrograde is good, because Mercury retrograde is a period, is a kind of a time where the universe is saying, okay, slow down. How about you receive something? Because everybody's sending, everybody's wanting to move forward, everybody wants to, you know, and that's why we're like, during the Mercury retrograde, it seems like a lot of people get frustrated. There's delays with the mail, and emails go missing, and that's why they say don't buy things during Mercury retrograde, don't buy a new car or something like that. You know, because it's meant to be a time where we're meant to, the whole purpose of retrograde, the symbolic meaning behind it is that you retrograde it's when a planet is moving backwards, like you're reversing, basically. So the purpose of the reverse is that you're supposed to be reversing because you're going back over something. The retrograde is actually teaching you, trying to tell you that, listen, you missed the spot. You know, when you're young and you're cleaning and your mom say, listen, you missed a bit here, or you didn't wash that plate properly, or you didn't clean up the thing. You thought you cleaned, you didn't. Go back over your step. You understand? Or sometimes you ever lose something, and then what do? You go back over your steps where you went. You lose your purse.
So we can say it's a time for reflection.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. But let me come in on that now. We're talking Mercury retrograde. I'm born with Mercury retrograde.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I'm born with it. So I have it in my life. But actually, what's interesting for me, at a certain point in my life, the Mercury retrograde comes to an end. Even though you're born with it, because it's going backward, and at a period in your life, it comes to an end, and then you start moving forward.
Yeah.
What that has done for me, it helps me to actually go back into the ancient world and study a lot of the past.
Exactly.
That's what it's taking you back into the past, whether it's 2 days, 2 months, 2 years, or 100 years ago. Mercury retrograde had taken you back. He said, you got to look back. One of the things I remember when I used to drive in the US, one of the things I used to just like to look in the rearview mirror. There's just something about it, just looking back, that thing. So I got to write up that poem that I did. I go all the way back, just like a slingshot, to study, analyze the things that is black, the things they see me have to come chat, because the negativity I don't like that. You know, so as I went back into study ancient Egypt, study ancient Africa, and studying all of these things, it makes me to see a different world, a different people, a different understanding. And so when I come with the metaphysics and talk about these things, it's because I went way back, you know, because I find it was important for me to bypass all of this stuff that goes on and get a center myself in the ancient world in connection to my Mercury retrograde, and come forward. So yes, we come in with the galactic spin. And so this is what Mercury take you backward to see something, or to undo, or to redo, or to recover, or to, you know, it's like that. And so even because even though I come out of it, a lot of my things that I may do also is taking people back into that understanding, or taken back in there, because it's almost like reflection. You know, if you notice what I was doing with Israel today, even though Israel, you done your talk, you did very well. It's almost like you were still running the conversation. The interaction is good, because a lot of people don't get to see us interacting. We just get to see me one talking or you one talking, but interacting to show that we have that interconnection, and we have different views and looking at things that could also, the combination is very powerful, you know?
Yeah. And although there may be different ways, what I've found with most of these spiritual things is that there may be different ways of describing things depending on the system that you're working with. But when and it's always good for people to ask questions and say, when you say that, what do you mean? Break it down. And when you break it down, you realize, that means that in my language, or that means that in my system of working. And you realize actually they're all just very much the same. The same as how we all have the same word for food, the same word for water, the same, all languages have a word for these things. But until you know that actually when somebody says this, it means water in your language or whatever, then you're not going to know that. So it's really important, I think, for people to, the interaction is a beautiful thing. And also asking questions, not being afraid to ask questions and show your vulnerability that actually you don't know what that person is saying. But if you ask, you might actually realize that you actually do know. If you just pretend you know, then you're not going to really ever find out, you know? So thank you for that. Greetings, Auntie Jean. Thank you for being so patient. Look at you sitting there all beautiful and just patiently while everything goes on.
Yeah. I'm listening, I'm taking it all in.
Yeah, it's lovely.
I really do, I just love it.
Really lovely to be able to talk about these.
What's happening with all these quiet people, man? You need to start speaking.
Yes,
Or you want to go to bed? You got work tomorrow.
No, no, it's absolutely brilliant. So anything about, as I say, the times now that we're going through, is there any things that we should be wary of? Because I know, Clyde, you said that I'm in that time of was it between the is it the 12th of September and
Blue Castle, you're in the Blue Castle of chaos and transformation in the Mayan system. I talk about that 52-day cycle that we're in, and actually starts on July 2nd all the way to September 2nd. And so that's a very crucial cycle, because it's actually, you have so much gap within there. And the gap is the galactic activator portal, when we're more connected with ancestors. A lot of people may be transiting and things of that nature from this world to the other world. And so it's a very crucial time. And so some people are born in it, and some people are going through it, or some people are coming out of it. And so it's important for us to understand with these cycles when we come around. Also, in a couple of days, which is July 26th, we enter the Mayan New Year, which is also under the blue storm, the blue lunar storm. And that is going to be, when you think you hear argument, that's when you're going to see a lot of polarity. That's when you're going to hear a lot of difference of opinion dealing with what we're dealing with. So that blue lunar is the polarity energy, and it's going to be a polarity storm, and that's coming. And it's good that we're doing this interaction, because what we should do in this cycle is create more interactive as opposed to shouting match or he's better or did that better, that competitive nature. Use it for interactive, for growth, for other people. A lot of people are listening tonight and they're seeing another version of astrology that they've never seen, that interactive connection. And that's what we need to look at for as the cycle bring us into next year's cycle. So the blue lunar storm is a polarity storm. And so this is going to bring a lot of challenge to a lot of the things that they're trying to force on us, such as wearing the mask, such as vaccination. That storm is going to come to challenge a lot of that, you know? So yes, beware and be before one is to before arm.
Yeah, definitely.
But I can hear within that what you're saying, an opportunity for unity. Because you're saying, you know, yes, the opportunity for challenge is there. But then,
Yes.
as you said, with the interaction that should also take place, you know, within that there is an opportunity for unity. Because I'm even feeling it myself. I mean, up to say a few weeks ago, I felt very much isolated with many things I was doing, kind of just working quietly by myself with individuals. But over the last month, and I'll say, I kicked off really with me doing the first talk on the 21st of June with Auntie Jean. I think one Sunday, was it the Friday one? It seems to have kicked off a certain kind of getting a bit more involved with other people, not just what I do, but also getting involved with people in terms of what they're doing and getting involved in that way. To the extent that, you know, I'm on this forum now, supporting what Auntie June's doing just by trying to be there on days I can, even if I'm not talking, speaking on it where I can. Next, you know, I've been roped into this Stop the Mangamizi. On there, I've seen Auntie Jean again. So all of a sudden, I feel like her good sister now. I've known her for years, and yet we've not really had a chance to really spend this time finding out who we are and working together in this way. So something definitely is happening there. So this opportunity for interaction is a kind of unifying tool, and I, for one, am very grateful for it. You know, yeah, and it's a chance for us to grow as we learn and interact and stop living, you know, in isolation, doing our little jobs and little bits of work without really bringing it together. You know, so yeah.
Well, I need to move on, Auntie Jean. I've got to leave out from where I'm at here now. So I really thank everybody, and I thank you, Brother Israel, for your wealth of knowledge, wealth of information, and just to show that astrology is a broad scope. It covers all sectors, covers all areas of life, and the platform to do this, because this needs to happen more and more in our community for people to realize the importance of the astrological data, the astrological knowledge, and what it covers, you know? Yeah, so I'll leave you all with that. And, you know, the thanks for everybody who's on, and, you know, let's share the knowledge and grow.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Galactic Clyde. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Brother Israel, you got something to wrap up?
Yes. Listen, man, it's all been said. Let's just stay positive. Always remember there's two sides to every coin. There's always positive and negative, up and down, night and day. Anytime you see something in life, always try to find what the opposite of that is. If there's something, you experience something negative, you see something negative, try to flip it. What's the other side? What's the positive side of it? You know, so for all, you know, we're in very interesting, serious times, we could say, in many ways, people losing jobs and so on and so forth, and, you know, a pandemic and stuff. But always, like I said, when one door closes, the universe not should, must, will open another. And it's about trying to find your door. Where is your door that is open for you? Where is it that the universe is showing you that that door needs to be closed and that door needs to be opened? And staying alert, you know, try to be more resourceful, be as creative as you can, and look on the inside and look to steer your ship, your destiny. We are the creators of our own individual realities. We are a part of a larger reality, a larger organism, a part of world, a larger world, of course, but our own individual reality, we must steer that. And we are responsible for that. So try to steer your, you know, they talk about the ship, the Merkaba, you know, that's the ship. Well, if we're using that as a concept, our ship, our spirit, our ship, you are the captain of your ship, and you have to steer that ship in the appropriate direction. When we don't steer our ships in the appropriate direction, we hit icebergs, we could sink, we hit rocks, we come unstuck, the ship can get turned over. So in order so that does not happen, we must know when we are sailing, where we are sailing to, how to apply the sails, you know, whether it's windy, whether it's rough, when to pause, when to not go. You know, all sailors know, they know when to sail, when not to sail, based on, you know, the times, the season, the storms, the winds, you know. Those are the kind of things we have to be able to apply those particular methods also to our own individual lives also as well. So try to be alert. The journey's still going. We're still, you know, still, you know, a long way to go. But we're in a crucial part now where let's start utilizing this time to better ourselves in the best way that we can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Israel, starting us off and also finishing us off.
No problem. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. And apologies again for my lateness today, and big thank you to Sister Queen for opening up and letting the show run. So as they say, the show must go on. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you for your tenacity. You're still here, and you know,
yeah,
more power to you. And looking forward to seeing some of you, if not all of you, on Friday for the Garvey Villages Unlock the Chains and Keep Well, remedies and keys for the situations we are in now. And our next Auntie African Culture Market will be the first Sunday of the month. We're in July, will be the 2nd of August. So looking forward to seeing you then. Okay, nice, Stella, thank you. I hope your kittens will come soon. Sister Nkechi, thank you for always as well. And Sister Dawn.
Thank you, Auntie Jane.
Thank you.
You're
I think I'm going to be on the 2nd of August, actually.
Yes, I've got you down here for the 2nd.
Yeah, I think that's my day. So look forward to that.
Yeah.
I was thinking of making that one a bit more interactive. I've done lots of talks, but I thought I would do like a group clearing or group interaction with the work that I do.
That sounds
as for a change, and so that people can see what's possible in a more practical way. That's how my mind is thinking. Be a bit daring to do that, but I think sometimes you just got to come out your comfort zone and just do it. You know.
Yeah.
All right then. So good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Israel.
Good night.
Thank you, Queen. All right. Peace. Good night. Oh. Safe chat. Say good night.